Hello, everybody, and welcome to the True North Audio Podcast. I am joined today by my good friends and bandmates in Bloody Pineapples. We got Jake, newcomer to the show, and returning from, like 3 episodes ago, we got Luke, not to be confused with Luke Wilson, the actor, which I think might have clickbaited us and will hopefully clickbait us again. Get that energy up, right?
I mean, that was my parents' goal at one point, so why not play with it?
And we might have Toby joining us a little later as well. So the normal thing we do with this is we talk about an album that's already out, that's been out. In one of the cases, it was out 20 years ago. But today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about an album that's not even finished yet. Well, it's written, but it's not recorded and put out. You can't listen to it just yet. Unless you're listening to this podcast like a year from now, then go listen to it. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Good to have you back. And you're here for the first time.
Yes. Great work, Kiko.
So, at the current moment, we're running a crowdfunding campaign to try to raise some money for the project. We're hoping to kind of put some money into merchandise and a sample instrument that we can kind of sell on and actually use the money from to sponsor all the crazy huge ideas we have, because this is not a band that just sort of does things halfway, And I thought I'd bring on a couple of guys to talk about the band, the Kickstarter, the album. Man, there's a lot to talk about with the album. So I figure since Jake, you're going to be out a little bit earlier than Luke, we'll give you the chance to take the mic for a minute and talk about what we're up to.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, thanks again, Kiko, for having me here. Bloody Pineapples, again, just to kind of recap there, is just a band of a bunch of people that come together to, write music and create, cool sounds. It's more of a community and kind of a lifestyle. But when you put that all together, it's a band. So album number 2, baby. We're really excited. We got 12 songs. Again, we have that feeling of all the songs are independently different while being together joined.
Yeah. Gonna try to glue them together, kind of like what Toby had been talking about earlier with, you got your core tone, your core drum sound, and then just sort of expand out from there. You're one of the 3 writers, or 4 writers, I guess, as Tony has one on here as well, that actually wrote the songs that we're going to be putting all the meat and potatoes into.
Yeah, I mean, basically I had, I think I suggested a couple songs and we picked, 2 or more so that I'm kind of focusing on and working on. And they're just, little ditties that we've had and recycled around and now kind of put them in the Bloody Pineapple game and let them kind of develop and hatch on their own. I'm very, very excited to see where these songs will take us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one thing that's kind of interesting to talk about, since we're going to have more than one of these songwriters on, what is your songwriting process? Where do you tend to start? Is just something you have sort of bouncing around your head? How much time do you put into it, and how much or how long do you let it sit before you really start to flesh it out?
Yeah, well, for example, we can talk about Flight a little bit. That song there is one that I've worked on for quite some time. And so, for example, when that song came to be, I wanted to create a little groove or a pattern. So I just basically walked around my house for a couple weeks just speaking or kind of rhythmically just creating a pattern. It was a 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2.
Nice.
It's basically the pattern, and I just kind of kept doing that over and over again. And then eventually I'll grab my guitar and I'll go through a picking pattern, or I'll try something in that 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 pattern, and just kind of see what develops. And then, long story short, a riff came, and then I kept it for a little while. But that song, Flight, from the beginning of when I was writing it to where it fleshed out to where we are now with it, probably took close to a year.
Oh, wow. So just kind of playing around with it until it sounded right.
Well, for reals, yeah. I mean, the main melody, the big beginning part, I should say, I got that probably in the first 2 months, and I'm not writing, 24 hours a day, obviously. It's just when inspiration or when time hits that I have these opportunities. But then I really wanted to work on a breakdown. So that's where the time took a lot. Be honest, I was looking at System of a Down and trying to think how they do some of their big breakdowns. And I just really wanted something melodic and something catchy so that when we came back into that, after the breakdown and it got really vicious, it would kind of have a reason to do so. So that took me, quite a long time to get that little part together. But once the song was, all kind of out there. I would say probably in the 9-month mark. I started kind of, looking at it a little bit differently. But, I was going through a lot of different, rhythm and patterns and trying to create some things that were different for me. So hence the time thing. But, once I fleshed out, it was pretty good. Now, for example, the other song that's on there, Killing, that was probably in less than a week.
Nice. So just kind of whenever it comes together then, really.
But yeah, exactly. Songwriting is one of those magical things. I do have a process that I can put myself into that'll allow me to write. Like I do have little, things that I do that set myself up for writing. But again, the inspiration or the actual product will just drop out of thin air.
Yeah. And you're pretty busy too. So, I mean, you don't always have time to just sit down and start putting time into music unless you have to as well. I mean, you got House Dark over there. You guys are bumping pretty much every time I talk to you. Guys are bumping,
well, thank you, Kiko. Yes, again, House Dark is my little studio here in Eugene, Oregon, and yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. 2022 was the best year yet, and it's been just absolutely amazing. I have 56 songs last month came through that I've been working on, and throughout this 2023, all those will be released. So.
Yeah, I remember when I was there last year for the show. I was crashing on the studio couch, and I remember it's just like a bunch of time where it's like, all right, gotta have you hang out with Luke. We got clients coming over. All right, your buddy's got to go pick you up and, go to the Sunday market or whatever. I got clients coming over. So you were like, even the middle of that, you're just never not busy with that stuff. So yeah, I can imagine time for songwriting is you just got to squeeze it into the cracks if there's any cracks to squeeze it into.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now, to give you an idea, I get about 45 minutes to an hour a day for just my time.
Yeah.
And if that's kind of what I got for myself, but then, if I find out that I am enjoying that, I won't go to bed.
I know how that goes for sure. For sure. And you're also one of the, we talked about this on the podcast with Luke. You're one of the OG pineapples too. You were with us from month one.
Yeah, man, it was an amazing little experience. Toby talked to Zeke here, and they got going, and then Zeke reached out to me, and I got to talk to him a little bit, and then boom, So I think it's our 3-year anniversary here this month.
Yeah, it is. It is February. It is 3 years on from Bloody Pineapples. It was you, me, Toby, Zeke, and Arturo. Oh, I'll have to get him on the podcast at some point, too. It sounds like he's been working with some of you guys at points as well.
Yes. I got the pleasure of driving down to Riverside, California, and get seeing Arturo in person.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yes. I think Toby's the only one out of that group that I haven't seen in person.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things we're hoping to fix with this little crowdfunding campaign. It probably won't cover a plane ticket, but like we said, if we can raise up the money, get some of that merch and that stuff out and actually start selling it, we can raise some money to get our dude over from the UK to play some shows with. Because we want to do that. He wants to do that. But, you guys probably know international travel is not cheap. And, it's expensive enough even for the guys in the US to travel over.
Yes, and so hear that, people in the airwaves. We want Toby in America.
Help us out. Kickstarter.
It's only like $2,000, but still help.
Exactly. Get on that Kickstarter. Get us some help. That's half the reason we're doing this. Otherwise, we'll just be chatting about this when it comes out. We want to kind of raise a little bit of that hype, get people, involved.
Yeah.
So, Luke, I'll give you a chance to kind of talk a little bit since you've been just patiently sitting in and waiting for your turn.
What you got?
Well, I figure we can start with the songwriting process since you also have a few tracks on here.
Luke has some bangers. I think
he does. He really does. I think we were working on at least 2 of them when we were out there a few months ago too. Like we were talking about that. I think even on the last podcast. Like the stuff we were working on, that stuff's going to be making the record.
Yeah, as far as like my contributions to the album, I think it's fair to say that I dive into the heavier songs on the album.
For sure.
Because I know last time we talked about the Brock Inspector on the last podcast, you and me, Kiko.
We did. We talked about Brock. Did we talk about Dark Forest yet? Had that been conceptualized at that point?
We didn't talk about that, but Let's just say there is a special guest artist that was mentioned in the Kickstarter.
You guys are not ready. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
That's going to hit so hard live also.
That is definitely one of the ones I think we're all the most excited about right now, even just for the guest, but the whole thing just, that chef's kiss heavy music, you know? But yeah.
Yeah, sorry to jump in there, but to accent, yes, everybody, Dark Forest, this new single we got that Luke created, there's a special guest. It is absolutely a banger. And one of these songs that we're going to love playing live, that you're going to love hearing, that there's going to be reasons to talk about it. It's one of those things that, you know, why we're doing the podcast.
Heck yeah, it is worth the price of admission by itself. I mean, honestly, we could be putting the whole Kickstarter just into this track and it would be worth it because it's going to be a banger. I am really excited to drop that one. But of course, that's a great thing. All these are going to be really sick once they come together. And yeah, so we were talking about Broken Spectre last time, which I think I remember when I was out there for the show, I kept calling it Broken Spectre because I didn't at the time know what a Broken Spectre was, which I have learned in the time since. I think more than one of us are guilty of that.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things where, like, kind of circling back to the question, my process is kind of similar to Jake's, where inspiration in the final products will just come out of thin air. But then when it comes to, like, the lyrics, the title of the song, and what it's about, that I really have to listen, put myself in the world of the song, and really imagine what does it convey.
Yeah, for sure.
Broken Spectre originally, it was just it was a pretty dark idea from something that my family went through, and then just kind of thinking to it naturally, I was able to kind of spin it and be like, oh, this would be the art, just a shadow surrounded by fog. And Googling what that would be, Broken Spectre was one of the terms that came up on Google. So I ended up just calling it that, and then just kind of having a new look on it, getting away from the negativity. That helps really drive the good energy forward and make it a lot more of a powerful banger than it would have been.
Yeah. So it's a very cathartic song then for you, I assume.
I wouldn't say it's for me because, well, I mean, I don't really mind sharing what it was. It was my god brother. He was in school during a school shooting, and that's that hit home real hard.
Yeah,
so
I can imagine. I mean, that's
the instrumental of that song was the result of that. Just imagining what it would have been like.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So like you hear the kicks, guitars, and I thought of that as like the like the weapon.
Yeah.
And then just spinning it, then now the smoke makes sense, the figure makes sense, but putting that spin on it, that helped kind of my mental health there, and an easier way to describe the song to other people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely some really heavy stuff to be writing about. And that's one of the things that is so great about a project like this. I think we talked before about how music can just be such a freeing power and force for good in the world and for healing for yourself or for other people. And I think that it's kind of one of those things. You've been through something really traumatic. You can't just kind of bottle it up. You got to face it. You got to do something with that. And I think this is a really healthy way to deal with something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, the last thing I would ever want to do is write a song where, I mean, you would hear the stereotype from metal where it's like promoting something negative.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I'd want to do. This is a spin on it to say, here's the silver lining.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, we don't want to be putting bad energy out. That's not what we're about.
Yep.
We're such a wide variety of people, but all of us, we just, whatever the good energy is, whether we're just here to vibe or, we got something we're trying to face or something we're trying to talk about. We're about putting that energy out, which is why I think one of the reasons I think all this works so well,
For sure. Exactly.
I mean, I'm super proud of how it came out because it's powerful. It has the energy, and then kind of having that momentum when creating the idea of Dark Forest just help the confidence level of kind of try to match energy, and then even adding elements that I normally haven't done with any previous songs of mine.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were doing I think, was it the like orchestral stuff originally as well? You had been kind of playing around with like actually writing string parts, I think, for the first time for Dark Forest, just to kind of see what they sounded like, just to experiment with new methods and new sounds.
Yeah, that was definitely the most detailed I've done orchestration in a song. I mean, if anyone's been to our live show, the orchestra opening we have, that's a song called "The Crypts." That's going to open the album. So if you've seen us live, then that definitely has your Trans-Siberian Orchestra kind of energy in that.
We've been really getting into that vibe for sure, especially in the live shows. We've got all kinds of cool little in-between tracks. Like we had you guys put together a transitional piece with the like all the synth parts from as Fellowship, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean,
you guys have as like one of.
Whenever you sent over your synth parts for the EP, I separated those and used them as a filler to introduce the following song.
Yeah. Speaking of live shows, you've been working on a lot of stuff for that as well, since most of them are probably going to be Eugene's side, since that's the easiest place for us to kind of launch off of. That's where a lot of our guys are. Jake has been helping to run a lot of that with a lot of that crew, but you've been working on the lights. We were talking about that just before we started recording.
Yeah, I ended up getting a couple of stage lights, learning the DMX programming, and kind of using our backing tracks, and actually fully using the. And I kind of consider it a gift where like you can imagine yourself in a song, picture like scenes, colors, shapes, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've been translating that to the lights to kind of help enhance the overall experience.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Do either of you experience synesthesia, where you can like close your eyes and different sounds and notes or whatever have like certain colors or kind of certain patterns that you imagine? Because I know Tony has that. I'm always curious about other people's experience if they have that.
I don't really do it with notes, but I can do that for a song. Like for Vazbanish, for example, I just finished the lights on that today.
Nice.
And like the lights I have range from like white, color-wise at least, it's like white, green, purple, orange, amber. And for that one, I just stuck with primarily greens, blues, and purples because like orange didn't really seem to fit it. Neither did amber. I don't know. It might just be maybe a foot in the door toward that experience.
Yeah. You guys got any fun shows planned? I know we're talking about some fun ones. You guys got anything smaller up in the air right now?
Right now, no. My band, Back in the Dark, the other one that I play in, we're just writing right now. No shows. Everything I'm focusing on right now is just House Dark studio work, and then this Bloody Pineapple. All of March is tracking time. So I've been ordering strings and getting things ready to go. So,
you're going to be doing guitar, or some of the guitar, you and Toby both sharing that.
Exactly. Yeah, Toby will be doing all the main heavy lifting. I'll just be helping out him whenever I can. So that's an amazing thing about Bloody Pineapples is everybody is multi-talented and thus can do more than just the one thing that they're pretty much known for. And it just allows for us to move really fast. And Toby and I have been chit-chatting, but March is all about recording, so...
Yeah, we got big, but March is going to be a busy, busy month. The crowdfunding campaign ends beginning of the March, and then we're just gonna be jumping right in. Everyone's gonna be just getting all the heavy lifting stuff going. We're gonna get the drums done. I'm gonna get the samples for those actually tracked and edited, and hopefully can get those on later on for the project and doing post production. Toby's got Toby has always got a lot of stuff on his plate. If he's able to jump in, hopefully we'll see later on, then he can talk about some of that too.
Yeah, but I want to kind of piggyback on the lights thing because that's just such an powerful and thing that we're kind of taking on. And I personally have to give it up to Luke because I am worthless when it comes to lights. So the fact that we're getting this next step and the fact that I saw a band last night at John Henry Huwata, that's put on a light show, yes, it's going to really be fun for the people here to get to see Bloody Pineapples live with what Luke's been creating. So big props to Luke for taking that on.
I'm always excited anytime I get a video from him in that group chat. Just hey, check this out. It'll be a little clip of one of our songs and the lighting show he's been working on. She's like, dude, man, I am ready for this. I am ready. We were talking recently about some fun ideas for some Bloody Pineapple shows. I'd love to. There's a lot of things I think would be really cool. Just really basic stuff. You don't need a lot. As you were saying last night, you said what? They had 4 lights?
They had 8 total.
8 total.
Yep, 8 total lights is all they had in the whole entire thing, and it was literally programmed with the song for they had an 8th notes. That's why they had 8 of them, and that's how they went.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
each light illuminated depending on the 8th note.
Basically, I mean, that's how they kind of had it set up, and to where they had all the things programmed to where it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then so the lights would go that way, or it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you would literally see the lights move kind of not left to right, but they would all fire independently, and then when there would be a breakdown or something, a drop, they would all fire simultaneously.
Nice.
And so it was that way, but it was really powerful to see like one light go on beat 1 and then another light go on beat 2. I mean, it just literally those simple things like that really matter on a visual because you don't really realize it, but they're kind of showing you the song through the visuals of the light.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And it's so simple. Like firing off lights on the beats is not hard work at all. You just put it together. I mean, there's nothing crazy about that, but even that alone just goes so far because you see the bands who don't have that and you don't even notice it. You just kind of realize that there's something you're just kind of not experiencing. And when you see it, when you feel it, then it completely grabs you.
Yes.
I would almost say that from the other point of view where you notice the lights if they're there, but if you're not, then maybe it's just it doesn't really ruin the show for me, but yeah, like it's just so much of an enhancer if it's done right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was impressive. That was day 1 of their show. They're on tour right now, and that was day 1 of their big tour. So it was the first time ever using that light show. So it was really impressive to get a watch.
As we opened up, we opened up for we opened up for Chaosium. Yes, thank you. We opened up for Chaosium a few months ago, and I remember them having a fairly complicated, like, again, not complicated, it was a very simple setup. It had to be flying in from Switzerland, but they had a lot of stuff going on their stage as well. And I remember they had the lighting show going on, they had the fog machines going on, and Jake, didn't you say they had at least one kind of like a backing track situation they were doing that you were paying attention to?
Yes, 100%. I mean, every band uses backing tracks in different 100%. Ways.
Yep.
And so, we don't want to get in too much of the nitty-gritty things except for that, yes, backing tracks are very important in most of the metal. Some bands use them really with a lot, like they have bass, they have guitars, they have backup vocals on them, and then some bands with backing tracks just use it for samples or any kind of mysterious sounds, anything that they want the audience to hear that's not texture, correct.
Yeah.
So Chaosium, they really ran a pretty tight backing track that was just pretty elaborate. So that was a good 2 hours just setting that up.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's like everyone does it. You kind of have to, especially these days, It's one of those things like not every band is going to just be a guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer, There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, Toby was going to be playing a show this weekend that would have been just a one-man show with tons of backing tracks, including some of Luke.
Yeah, but then the poor guy got sick.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate he was unable to actually play that show, which really sucks. It was last minute suckage. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like Bloody Pineapples. We use backing tracks for all sorts of stuff. Again, I mean, we're a collective. It's a lifestyle. And part of what that means is that you're not able to get every single person who's contributed every single thing to every single show. I mean, there's 11 of us on Vulgar Display of Fruit, and trying to get 11 people, especially when multiple are out of the country, that's a lot. That's a big ask,
That's hence our Kickstarter.
Exactly. We want to try to get people in. That'd be an 11-man show would be amazing. It'd be an absolute
Yes.
circus in the best ways possible.
Yeah. And so again, yeah, with Bloody Pineapples, the backing track is a very important part of our live show. It has so many of our transitions and our textures, and some of these things that you're going to hear on this next album are just going to be so awesome to get to hear live.
Oh man, I'm excited. And you guys should be too. You guys absolutely should be. Did so for you, Jake, when we started this, as you've been here from day one, did you picture it blowing up to this point? February 2020?
Never. That's this thing. Yeah, Bloody Pineapples was a once a month. This is really fun. To where all of a sudden something snapped in my head. Probably like on month 6 that we were involved. It was probably June or July of 2020 when I finally started thinking, could this really happen?
Yeah.
And then eventually when I talked to Toby and said, hey, what do you think about me trying to put together a band here in town about doing this? And he was like, well, if you can, go for it. And then one thing led to another, and then Luke came aboard. When did you join Bloody Pineapples, Luke?
Oh, that was
February, March of the next year, right?
that was when we did Maury Buns. We won Triangles in March, so that would have been February of 22.
21. So we add new members in February. So this month we might have a new one. Anyone listening, you want to join?
Good.
No, wait, it was 21. You were right.
Yeah, yeah. You were in pretty early.
Yeah,
yeah. It would have
So
been.
Luke is celebrating his 2 years with us.
Yep. It's late.
Yep.
It was end of 2021 was when we put out the EP, and then all the shows that we had going on 22. You guys had that. Was it Riverfest?
Riviera Fest, yeah.
Riviera Fest. Thank you. Yes. You guys had.
And Luke, did you hear they just announced they're doing it again this year?
Wow.
That's great to know.
Yep, the lineup hasn't been announced, but I got our foot in the door, so that's something that could be really fun.
I was going to say, we wished him a happy birthday. Hopefully that paid off.
And if you guys back us up, maybe we can get Toby out there for that too.
There we go. Yeah,
it
would be an amazing thing. So, super amazing.
Gonna harp on that a lot. Back us up. Back up.
Yeah.
The Kickstarter.
But again, Bloody Pineapples, never in a million years did I think we'd get to this point. Never did I think a collection of people could even do what we're doing. Hence the reason we're trying to get some funding and we're going to try to tell our story. But the main core of us, appreciate everybody that's been involved. But this is now kind of taken over to where Bloody Pineapples is bigger than any one of us.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's a lot to handle. Any band is a lot to handle, but a project this crazy, we're not, again, we're not just half measures here. This is a big project. There's a lot of moving parts all over the world.
Exactly. I mean, you got me right now in Eugene. What are you in Utah, Kiko?
Yep.
Yeah, and Luke's in Kansas City. So
Kansas City, not Kansas City, Missouri.
Right.
And not the Kansas City that makes sense, not the one that everybody knows that doesn't.
So just amazing. And then Toby, one of our leaders, over there in the UK. So just amazing how we're just spread apart and doing the thing out of love, but it takes a lot of commitment and dedication. And again, I fell for, you and Luke and Toby as humans now. And so now we kind of have developed this band, which started as kind of this, like, not even a band.
Yeah, just a bunch of dudes online.
To now a full-fledged band that has, music that people can download and listen to and enjoy, to where now we're playing live shows. And here comes album number 2 as a special guest feature for track number 1, or one of our best tracks. And so I just tickled to death with what's to really come in the future. And the day we all get to see Toby in America is going to really put it on the map and allow it to feel real. So I'm just really blessed to get to be with you all and to get to have this experience. And as long as I'm going, Bloody Pineapples, I want to be involved and see what happens. Because, again, the name is so funny. the idea of how it went. I mean, a lot of these things were jokes. Yeah. And the jokes just became reality, and now they're truths.
I mean, we had the song on there. We gave John, we let John in. He gave us everything. I mean, it's just us joking about our experience with the collab smash, but that's pretty much it. The whole thing, it was like we at the time it was like 2 of us in the UK and 4 of us in the United States. It would have been March when we brought Jay in, and it's like, we need a name that, like, you know, it's half British, half English. And Toby's like, we got to call it something about pineapples because John likes pineapple on pizza. And out of nowhere, that's where we are. We're the, as I put it, the best band with the worst name you'll ever hear. And I love it.
I mean, I want to challenge Limp Bizkit.
I think we're better than Limp Bizkit personally, but maybe I'm biased. You know, maybe I have a little bit of a bias.
Yeah, I'll let you take that bias because I'm a huge West Borland fan. So
there you
never
go.
in a million years. So
heck yeah.
Yep. That deep fake they just put out was pretty impressive.
I think it's going to be really fascinating to see how everything pulls together. Maybe we'll have to print some more of those backwards logo stickers.
Of course. Of course. So, well, much love, guys. Thanks for having me on here. I got to wrap it up and be taking off and getting to work here. I got a client on his way, and then more music and fun stuff tonight. But again, thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Of course. Well, thanks for joining us. It's good to have you while we could. And like I said, you're a busy man, so we're not going to keep you.
Excellent. Well, take care, Luke. And again, thank you so much for all your lights and all the work you've been doing, man. I'll get in contact with you next week.
Yeah, man. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care, Kiko.
Peace.
Cheers.
Well, hopefully Toby will get a chance to join us, but if not, I figure we can just keep harping on this record since it's going to be sick.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, of course, like I said, Dark Forest, I think, is one of the ones we're the most excited about. You're going to be doing vocals on this one. And on that note, we're actually bringing in a few new people, for at least few new people on the recording side for us. They're dudes we know, but dudes we've not worked with in a band. We got our dude Max from Sweden. We've got our dude Sam from Brazil. We had a call with him earlier. We have Ruben coming back. He's going to be mixing from Spain and might be doing some clean vocals. Tony might be joining us again for some stuff. So we got a lot of really exciting people on here. You're going to be doing the vocals, and like I said, you wrote 4 of the songs, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's 5 of them, actually.
5 of them, yeah.
The Crypts. But yeah, it's the Crypts that's a orchestral intro for the shows, the live shows that we always do.
Yep. And
that one, I forgot to mention it when you brought it up, but I actually wrote that one in less than 24 hours.
Oh wow!
It was as soon as lockdown started. I just started with the just the melody of. Well, I probably shouldn't hum it. Come out and see us for the show if you want to hear it.
Exactly. Don't spoil it. You guys got to back us. Got to come out and actually participate.
Oh, and look who's here. What's up, Toby?
Yo, party people. How we doing?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Little one took a little bit longer to go to sleep than I expected, but
that is totally fair. Welcome to the show, Toby. You just missed Jake by like a minute.
Ain't
just
that the
in
truth?
time.
Ain't that typical? Okay. He'll have to make that up to me later.
So everybody, welcome back to the show. Returning guest Toby. He was our first episode, former partner in True North Audio, and like Jake, original founding member, day 1 Bloody Pineapple.
Greetings and salamanders.
Welcome in. We were just talking about the songs, the songwriting process a bit. And you have,
awesome.
You've written 3 of the songs on here? At least 2 or 3?
I think it's 4.
4, man.
But
okay.
The interesting thing is with those is that several of them, if not all of them, are actually like resurrections from the old days. I think for sure there's at least 2 that I wrote about 2006, and also my little ones just woke up again, so I'm gonna have to go. I'll be back. Hopefully, be back in a minute.
Sounds good.
Oh, good.
One of the ones, I believe, the earlier ones is one of the ones actually I talked about on the last episode that we're doing the like extra synth parts for and everything that I had that whole intro for. That would be Cal from Bell. I have no idea if we're keeping that name. I think at this point it's pretty much stuck, so I think that's going to be Cal from Bell. More cowbell.
Well, see, what's funny about that one also is, you know, kind of like the band name Bloody Pineapples. When I saw Toby write that, I'm like, your song better be the absolute opposite of the name in order for that to stack up. So it was kind of me and Toby just doing like some friendly competition. It's like, well, in Dark Forest, I'm doing this. He's like, oh, just you wait until my tempo change.
Such a bloody pine. Oh, just you wait. Just you wait. I'm going to change that tempo on you. Which reminds me, I need to get that tempo change into the MIDI map.
Yeah, but no, I was listening to that when he sent it over, and it's we definitely out heavied each other, but like it kind of split off into the different styles.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, just to not to make your job harder, but we still have to add the stupid heavy synth parts to the like breakdowns and stuff. So we're not done. The competition is not over.
Well, I'm not the synth guy, so that's okay. But vocal wise, that's going to be, even just hearing it, that's going to be like some Humanity's Last Breath type of style.
We should have entered that 3 years ago for Humanity's Last Breath.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it?
Ain't that the truth? Well, after 2020, I think maybe hindsight needs a better year.
Oh, it always does. But also, like he was saying that some of the songs were resurrections. Two of mine are also resurrections as well. So the one I had originally, the Crypts, that one I always knew I was going to use for something.
Yeah.
Then I wrote the Brock Inspector, Dark Forest recently. Those are two newer ones.
Yeah.
And then I'm not set on the titles of the resurrected ones, but those I've had since, I want to say 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. And they were ones where I completed the instrumentals with no problem, but the vocals I just couldn't get through, because realizing it in hindsight, I just didn't have a strong enough idea for it.
Yeah.
Because songwriting process, again, I have to have the same idea for the instrumentals, because those have to convey the story on its own, and then the vocals help enhance it.
Yeah.
And then going back to one where it was, and I'm pretty sure this title's going to stick, where it's called the Speleothem.
Mm-hmm.
My original idea for that was, as you might guess, a cave. And then that just kind of got me stuck on not even able to comprehend what the chorus could sound like.
Yeah.
But then I ended up getting another idea sort of along the same lines, and I was able to hammer out both choruses, both pre-choruses, and I'm just waiting to see what chorus will pop in my head, but everything's starting to fit, so I'm glad that the resurrections are possible in that case, because
yeah,
I mean, as it's probably happening to you as well, there are a lot of songs that we can write that almost never end up seeing the light of day, and it can be a bummer sometimes.
It's funny because I want to say it was one of the Riff Hard podcasts that AL does, where he interviewed, I don't even remember who it was. I want to say it was Adam D from Killswitch, but I could be completely off on that. But one of his like really prominent guests was talking about how like if a song, like if he writes a riff and it's not like immediately good to him, he just deletes it and never holds on to it. But a lot of the guys I have on here, including yourself and Toby, are very much sort of guys who are just like, I don't know what this is going to be yet, but I know I want it to be something. You hold on to it, and sometimes it's there for 18 years before it ends up on a record, like Cal from Bell. But it's always interesting. This comes up on the podcast a lot, the like people who kind of don't hold on to ideas versus the people who do. So far, I think it's all people who do. But yeah, I think it's really cool to be able to revisit something, because sometimes you have an idea and you haven't had the chance to see what the vision's going to be yet. And then you put it to a project like Bloody Pineapples and it all just clicks, you know?
Yeah, I mean, no joke. Because when I first started writing songs, what I would do was go into the notes section of my iPhone, of all things.
Mm-hmm.
I would literally tab it out, just like have the strings, have the hyphens.
That's got to take forever.
I can literally go back right now. I can see what made the final, and then I have a separate note right below it labeled outtakes. So that's everything that didn't make it, and I could slowly see my progression toward, here's how I got to that, to the final.
Yeah. That must have taken forever. I don't think I've ever heard anyone like just hand tabbing on a phone like that. Like, I mean, that's got to be nuts on a computer already, but wow.
I don't know. When a computer, I would do this straight up during college classes. Because there was one class specifically where it was like film theory or movie. It was something like that. But what the idea of the class is you would spend the class time watching a movie on the projector.
Yeah.
And then when the class ended, you would do like the online test or quizzes like about what you saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it really wasn't hard to Google the movie after and get the answers. But during that, yeah, I was tabbing on the phone. I was thinking of the riffs. I mean, it was 2 hours a day in the dark with no one bothering you. So
yeah,
it worked out.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's I never went to college. I only think of high school, but I definitely had classes in high school where I just ended up drawing more than anything. But yeah, I can imagine. You are definitely the person Guitar Pro was made for. I can imagine if you had Guitar Pro on your phone back in the day.
Yeah, well, I mean, in fairness, it was community college. I did 2 years there before doing the like the stuff required for a degree at a major university, because heck of a lot cheaper, and I'm not the most decisive person in the world, so it was nice to take all of like the gen eds and see what do I like, what do I don't like, and sure enough, music was always there.
Is that why you joined URM at the end of the day? Did you figure that you wanted to learn production more than anything?
My original reason for URM, it was I had my songs and I just wanted them to sound a lot better than they did. So that makes sense. Joining that, I'm like, I mean, I think I was using like only the stock and some free plugins I found through like Facebook promotions or whatnot. Yeah. But then to like actually learn was definitely next level, because I joined during the Two Matson Suicide Silence Month in November 2019.
That was a good month.
Yeah, and AL's comments were like, I can't believe how simple this mix is. So, of course, that drove my confidence. I'm like, okay, 4 hours for a mix from scratch isn't too bad. I should be able to get this. And then, of course, December, we all know that was...
that was Will Putney, and that was not a simple mix.
Will Putney with Knocked Loose, 11-hour mix, 2.5 hours devoted strictly to the mix automation after.
Well, he also had, 30-something tracks of just drums and drum triggers?
32 of drums. It had 16 kick spikes. I mean, when trying to mix it myself, I couldn't even get past the kick, because I'm like, man, he duplicated this. I'm like, no, they all sound different. Oh.
That's a rough one to get started on, that's for sure. So you got the one that kind of teased you, the one that eased you in, and then they just hit you both barrels right out the gate like that.
Oh my God, it so did. Because I think it ended up being 118 tracks total after everything. Yeah. And then while watching the mix, that's what I used to do when Nail the Mix. I would watch it on my phone, and each move that was done, I would replicate it in my DAW with plugins I had. Yeah. So that way I could bypass it and see what difference it made.
It's funny too, because it's one of those, because you've done that, you can understand. I've done that before as well, just to kind of see exactly what you said, just kind of see what difference it makes. But because you've done that, you understand that you can copy a mix move for move exactly how it's done by the guy who did it, with exactly the same multi-tracks, and still end up with something completely different. It's completely nuts.
Now, what shattered my world was, I'm like, okay, 118 tracks is a lot. And then I think a couple of minutes in, he's like, all right, what we're going to do is create a sample bus. I'm like, I don't know what a bus is. And then, of course, by the end of the mix, we have all these buses for everything.
They're everywhere.
Sub-bus. Yeah. And I think we ended up with 136 tracks, including the buses. And But in my saved projects, I do have that session copied move for move, everything. And Oh my gosh, it took
Yeah,
weeks.
I can imagine. I mean, it's an 11-hour mix, and that's not pausing to copy every move or anything either.
I was pausing, like zooming in to see the frequencies on Pro Q and trying to find the equivalent plugins that
are going to get you close to that. Yeah.
That I knew for a fact I could never afford back then.
Crap, he's using Soothe again.
Pro MB it is. Actually, I didn't even have that back then. I used TDR Nova.
Yeah, I was going to say that would have even been before FabFilter. As I remember us talking about the plugin journey last two times, the one that made it and the one that didn't.
Yeah, because it was Buster Odahome with Humanity's Last Breath after Will Putney that convinced me over the edge to get Saturn as the first FabFilter.
Yeah, my first was Pro Q. Well, to be fair, my first was actually the mastering package with Pro MB, C, and L. But yeah, Pro Q was really the one I was going for. I just happened to be lucky enough to get the others on that sale or whatever.
Yeah, but then the nice thing is using that knowledge to create demos, so that way whenever I created Dark Forest and the Brock Inspector, that I could make that somewhat passable to where someone could listen to it and be like, okay, I understand what you're going for, but obviously Ruben hasn't touched this.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's the other thing too. Again, I talked about this last time we did this, but one of the great things is all of us are engineers, producers of different types, but none of us have an ego about it. Going back, Jake, who was just on here, is running a studio that, as he said, is just constantly going. He's got 45 minutes to himself, and he's doing dozens and dozens of songs a month. Realistically, you would see that and go, oh, that sounds like the guy to be mixing the record. You got that guy in the band. But, even Jake is just dude, Ruben's such a good mixer. We're just going to go with Ruben, we just all agree that Ruben's a guy who sees our vision through. And it's, not because none of us could do it. It's just because all of us really respect his work. I mean, any one of us could mix and master a record and get it out easily enough. But, I mean, it's just Ruben's touch, And that's even the guys who are working full-time, just completely nuts off the walls doing studio work.
I mean, it kind of goes like that in respective to every role in the bands where you kind of have, everyone knows who kind of the go-to guy is, but with us all having experience, we can give different pointers if there's an idea we want to try out.
Yeah, kind of like you and Jake working on those bass parts for the live show.
Bass parts.
It was not, you weren't playing the bass, but it was oh no, it wasn't for the live show. I'm sorry. It was for when we were trying to do the video for Voss.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I thought
right.
It was. Yeah,
yeah. In my head, I'm just still
I snapped the string on his bass.
In my head, I was trying to remember. It's the last podcast I did was only 4 months ago, and I'm sure people could listen back on that and I'll have told that story correctly. It's apparently even in the last 4 months, my memory is just gone. But no, yeah, it's same sort of thing. But yeah, that was the other thing I was gonna ask. Going back to the URM and stuff, did you ever find yourself making presets or templates based on any of the live mixes you've watched?
I mean, I hear people talk about how templates are such a time saver, but just my weird mind, I do everything from scratch because every song is going to be different. And I originally tried with Buster sessions, literally copy and pasting the routing into my own and seeing what that would do. And as you would imagine, not the same result.
It's nuts.
So I start everything from scratch and then get the ideas on there. And then when I'm starting to mix it and make everything fit together, that's when I'll do what I think needs to be done. So everything sounds cohesive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have specific rules of a mix that I live by necessarily, other than, I guess you could say, the common sense stuff of don't have anything in the red or, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm always curious about this. I found myself occasionally doing usually it's presets. It's not even templates. It's just if I see one of the fast tracks or something, I'll say, you know what, that's a cool that's a cool setting for something. Like my any G comp sort of thing I have, there's a like punch and squish master kind of preset that Joel made in one of the mix labs that was just kind of like, it's usually these settings sound pretty good, so this is a good jumping off point. So I have like presets on all my G comps for those settings that all kind of use as a jumping off point sometimes on buses and whatever. I figured I'd see if anyone else is doing that.
Yeah.
We both, I mean, the whole band owes so much to URM. URM is the reason we're all here and know each other. So,
oh, absolutely.
It's a common shared experience that a lot of us have. I don't know if everybody, I mean, a lot of the live guys actually just came from knowing us at this point, the guys over in Eugene. But yeah, I mean, we started with that competition. Toby works for them. I've been with URM pretty much from the beginning. I think it was 3 months in is when I joined, or 5 months in or something like that. Like the first year for sure. I mean, we just, URM has done a lot for every single one of us for sure.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't trade it for anything.
No, absolutely not. That's, we let John in. He gave us everything. It was our dude, John. Oh man, I should get John on here too.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. You see, he's got his own podcast now too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to say it's called, I'm going to look at it just so I don't butcher it so people can actually find and listen to the correct podcast. But he recently did an episode with Gabe, one of the other guys from URM. Is the Slow and Fast podcast. So if anyone is interested in our boy John Maciel, check out the Slow and Fast podcast. That's the dude who started the whole collab smash. He's the one who actually basically got us all together, and in some ways you could consider him the guy who actually started Bloody Pineapples inadvertently, and the one who's responsible for our terrible name. Our terrible, wonderful name.
But yeah, and kind of going back to what we were saying, that the knowledge URM has given us, just allowing us to, or at least allowing me in my case, to create good sounding demos and getting the ideas out there.
Mm-hmm.
And even just being able to export the multi-tracks and even some arrangement from just listening to all these professional songs has definitely helped our collaboration, our overall results.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's crazy too, because having access to those multi-tracks, like, it's good for a mixing engineer, but I recommend it even just to a musician. Like, get some of your favorite artists that have appeared on there before, because like being able to listen to Mitch Lucker screaming isolated, or, whatever, being able to listen to Matt Halpern playing the drums completely isolated or whatever, being able to hear how people's performances sound by themselves can be really, really, really handy in listening and going, oh, that's what I should sound like. That's, I'm not anywhere close to this. How am I going to sound like these guys if I can't even like produce the technique record, like the DIs, for example, if I can't even pick hard enough to, for my tone to come out this way.
Yeah. Cause that was kind of a wake up call to me whenever Wage War was on it.
Oh, I bet.
I first saw them at Warped Tour, had no idea what they were or who they were.
Yeah.
I was waiting in line to meet Motionless in White, and then they come on and open up with Alive. And, like, Cody's vocals were just perfect. Like, I was obsessed with the band after that. And then hearing them on Nail the Mix, being like, oh, this is raw vocal. He really doesn't have a lot of natural distortion on it.
Yeah.
And then listening back to the song, I'm like, oh, that was all plugins. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to actually like see how those sounds come together. And yeah, I mean, like I said, like being able to have that jumping out, like Toby, I think honestly, one of the big things that URM did for him was make him a better guitarist, like even more than an engineer. He got so many of these DIs from his favorite artists and bands, and it's like, oh, this is what these guys like pick technique sounds like. This is how these guys get that tone, and he would play around with like playing the song, he'd get the multi-tracks and he would play that song into his session. and then compare his DIs to the original DIs and try to get the tone that they have on the record on his own. That's why he's so good at tone these days, you know? Like being able to
confirm.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey.
We were just riffing on how much we owe URM and what an amazing thing it has been for everybody. I mean, like I was saying, this band exists because of URM, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. Shout out to John Maciel.
Yeah. I was just plugging his podcast as well. Figure people can go over them.
One?
The Slow and Fast.
Oh, okay, yeah. That one's really good as well. His other one, Working in Music Sucks, is also really good.
Ah, that's right. Thank you. Man, so go to both of them and don't harass him. Unless you really hate the name, then ask him, John, why would you do this to us? Don't say anything else. No context. Just ask him why he did this to us. That's it.
Just say, John, we let you in and you gave us everything.
Exactly. No, I mean, yeah, I was just saying earlier, we were talking about how you honestly probably became a better guitarist because of URM, just, you know, going through listening to these DIs and comparing your ability against the ability of some of these all-time legendary guitarists. But you actually work with them now. You joined in, you were involved in all this, and they ended up bringing you on the team.
Yeah, so I do. There's a few different bits and pieces I do for URM, but yeah, and it's kind of mad because that's kind of given me a little bit of I'm not sure what the word is, but kind of maybe clout. I don't know, to kind of then start working with other companies as well. So yeah.
You never know who you've met. You never know who you're going to be working with down the road, you know? I mean, you can't predict the future.
No. Hashtag big things coming.
Ain't that the truth? Especially with this record, with our Kickstarter, which you should back. And if it's already closed when you're listening to this, then go buy one of our things or listen to our music or make other people listen to our music or come to one of our shows or just give us a bunch of money so we can fly some dudes out from overseas to come to one of our shows, you know? Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I heartily endorse this event or product.
Yes, read the script, Toby. That's not what I wrote for you. Welcome back. So going back to where we were when you were first in the writing process, is you've written, I think you said again, like 4 of them, and you were talking about how some of them were older projects and some of them are newer projects.
Yeah, so they're all working titles at the moment. So I could say the names of songs, but it would make absolutely no sense to someone at the end of the product because
I've already name dropped Cal from Bell, so they know that.
Yes,
one.
you did.
Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, the four that I wrote are called 8 String Thing.
Yep.
Cal from Bell, Sweeps, and One Last Taste, and all of those except for 8 String Thing were written around 2005, 2006, 2007 kind of time. So they're ancient, but I've kind of gone. They're the ones that I kind of like at the time. I was like, I think actually at the time I wrote them, I couldn't actually play them because they were too hard for me to play back then.
Yeah.
And so I never recorded them or anything because I basically couldn't. But now we can, and I've actually gone and made them a bit more palatable and changed the tuning and changed the arrangement around and stuff. So kind of modernized them a little bit, while also making them harder. So
yeah.
So it's gonna be a fun challenge, and it's gonna be really cool to kind of finally have a finished song. 17 years later, basically.
Yeah, I was telling Luke earlier, you know, it was one of the, you might actually know, maybe, if you've heard this episode, one of the Riff Hard podcasts had, you know, one of the, like, great all-time legendary guitarists, and he was talking about how, like, if he's not feeling a riff, he just deletes it. You know, he never holds on to anything. You know, and I was saying, like, I feel like most of the guys I've had on here will hold on to old ideas, you know, and sometimes it's just waiting for that moment where it's going to, you're going to get the right kind of vision for it, and it all kind of comes together.
Totally. I mean, the Vrak album that I put out last year, there's quite a few like old riffs from ages ago that I kind of like pulled out from retirement, and the same with the other project I'm working on with Luke. Yeah, there's quite a few old pieces. There's a 12-minute song on there that's kind of. It had bits. It's actually it had bits of a really really old song, but then that's kind of evolved and it's all completely original, completely new stuff now. But it kind of the old stuff was kind of a stepping stone to where we are with that now. So what I do is I actually have a series of folders, and it's like anything less than 50 BPM goes in this, anything that's like 50 to 80 BPM goes in here, and then anything 80 to 150 BPM goes in here, etc., etc. So if I'm writing a song and I'm stuck, I can, like, what BPM am I in this song? Let's go open this folder. There's probably something that will fit.
I can't imagine anything you would write under 50 BPM.
No. I think the folder with the most in is probably the 180 to 200 BPM folder.
That tracks. I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just imagining the 50 BPM folder. He has LOL in parentheses after it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
50 BPM.
I think there might be just one file in there, and I think it's like I think it's called like Mario Boo House, and it's like this piece of music. It's like basically organ, and it sounds like when I wrote it, it kind of sounded like the Boo House music from Mario World, and I was like, nice. Okay, we'll just call it that. Like a Boo House spook or something weird like that.
So if we can get an organ, then we need to bring that song back on BP3.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm up for that.
I'm interested in how it'll be the slowest song Bloody Pineapples has ever written by a mile. We're gonna have that as like the dirge at the end or something, but
yeah. Although I think what we need to do is basically have we could have that as we can say that's the slowest song, but then we have another song that has a breakdown, and then the breakdown comes back even slower than that. So it's like we have a breakdown that's 10 BPM.
Oh, that'd be brutal.
I can't remember how slow it goes at the end of Cal from Bell, but it goes pretty slow.
Yeah, I don't think it goes quite to 10 BPM though.
No, it doesn't. But there was that Rob Scallon video where he did with Dave Boy in a band, and he was like, right, we need to make this breakdown really slow. Let's have it 1 BPW. Like, what's that? 1 beat per week. And he's like, just plays the riff on the guitar, and it's like just ringing out. And Robs goes, well, you can join me back this time next week. I'll still be playing this riff.
Starting to get into that like experimental John Cage kind of energy there. We can do a Bloody Pineapples cover of 433.
I'll have to take your word for it on that one.
Yeah, so 433, the kind of pedantic description of music being like organized time or organized sound over time or something. John Cage decided that he was going to challenge that with a live piece called 433. And what the composer does is walks out onto the stage with a stopwatch, sits down at a piano, starts the stopwatch for 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and then whatever noise happens in the room in that 4 minutes and 33 seconds is the song.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. It's a sort of thought piece, Yeah. It's a bit of famous like avant-garde music in a way.
Performance art.
Pretty much. Yeah. So just get somebody in Bloody Pineapples with a stopwatch, sit there on the stage for 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and we're done. We've done it. We've covered one of the...
Or you could go like even more avant-garde and have it so it's like 4.33 seconds.
I need a stopwatch that can do 0.33 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm sure they make that. There's probably an app for that these days.
I'm sure there is.
It's called Guitar Pro.
Yeah. Man, Guitar Pro. I love Guitar Pro.
Speaking of Guitar Pro, so one of the things we're doing with the whole Kickstarter campaign, the record in general, is we're putting together a bunch of pieces, like producer pieces and musician pieces and everything for this whole thing. We're doing, as I mentioned earlier, we're creating a sample instrument. We're doing tabs. We got a tab book we're putting together. We're going to be putting out samples and synthesizer presets and multi-tracks possibly. So lots of kind of stuff for the musicians and the producers and the fans to kind of play around with and get involved in. And we're hoping to sponsor some of that with the Kickstarter.
Yeah. And we've got Impulse sponsors and Tonex profiles. I think we might be doing Kemper profiles as well. So basically, I think the plan is for all of the guitar tones to be real amps. Yeah. But we will make captures of every single tone we do, which will then be made into Tonex captures and into Kemper profiles as well.
And the great thing about the Tonex ones is you can use them without actually having to purchase Tonex.
Yeah, so Tonex will allow you to use up to 20 captures on the free one. I'm not sure how many captures we'll be making. It might be 20.
There's a good likelihood of it. Us being us.
Yeah. So I'm also thinking I might experiment with seeing if we could bake in Ruben's mix processing into the tones as well, because that would be really cool if we could do that.
We're talking about that with the drums as well for the sample instrument, having a raw and a processed version that you can do one version that's going to be as Ruben did it on the record, and then one version you can kind of play with on your own how you would want to do it, depending on which you think sounds better. It's going to be Ruben's, but
yeah. And the thing is as well, if we can get the processing baked into the bass tone on the Tonex and on the guitar tones and on the drums, then you can you can actually play with those and get it very, very close to the album sound yourself, that's the goal, and that would be really cool.
Close as you're able.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, like we were saying, the same thing about how Luke would basically copy every single move in a mix, detail by detail, and it'll still sound completely different. It's the same with performance, I mean, it's like
totally.
You can get exactly the signal chain and two people are going to sound different playing the same riff. I mean, surely you've seen it. If you've been in a room with two guitars who are like one's teaching them one's teaching the other the riff, they're literally same chain passing the guitar back and forth, and one guy's going to sound different from the other.
Yep. I've actually, I've been in that situation several times where it's me and someone else, and the tone, it sounds completely different. It's like, it's just completely different. I wasn't doing record. I had a friend come over last year, and we were doing a Children of Bodom cover, which I haven't finished yet, but I will eventually get that finished. But we went through an amp and cab and mic'd up and everything. We thought we'd actually track real guitars as we go on the way in, which would be really cool. Yeah. But his playing and my playing sounds wildly different. It sounds like it's a different guitar. It sounds like it's going through a different amp, but literally everything is exactly the same. I didn't even turn the amp off between him tracking and me tracking. It was literally
just past the guitar.
Exactly the same. Same guitar, same plectrum, everything. And it sounded wildly different. And people say, "Oh, the tone isn't in the fingers." Blah, blah. It's like, it is.
It's amazing what a difference.
Kind of go off that also, because we're talking about how two of my songs for the album are also resurrections that I'd written a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when I originally wrote them, I used these Fender heavy picks. I don't remember what their thickness is.
Something heavy.
But but back then I was using Fender medium. So when I was trying to dial the tone with neural, I just wasn't getting any pick attack compared to like the Brock Inspector and Dark Forest now using the heavy versions.
Yep.
So even just boosting Transify like to the max and trying to isolate the pick sound with Pro Q, it just wasn't cutting it.
Yeah.
I've got quite I'm not sure what the word is, but quite detail oriented around using the plectrums for guitars, because like I was recording today. I was recording a Silosis cover, which is dropping next weekend,
Nice.
And different parts. I'm tracking with one part, and then I'll just drop that and I grab a plectrum for the next part, because I know that I want a slightly different sound for a different kind of riff. And I normally have a minimum of 3 in front of me when I'm tracking, because I know which ones I want to use for which parts.
Yeah.
There was one song on the Vrak album where I basically all the 16th. I was doing like sort of gallopy riffs, and all the 16th notes were with one plectrum, and all the 8th notes were with a different plectrum, and I comped it together.
Because you did that with triangles, also. I remember.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And it sounds better because like the really thick plectrum, it sounds amazing for like down picking, but it sounds trash for alternate picking. Mm-hmm. So you basically the alternate picks you want with a thinner one, and then the down picks you want with a thicker one. So yeah, just basically track it twice, comp between the two, and off you go. And that's all those kind of things. And the thing that I'm quite into at the moment as well that I'm really hoping to do on the Bloody Pineapples is doing the sort of machine / Will Putney thing where you have the different tones for different parts of the riffs. Yeah. So you have like a scratchy tone and a beefy tone. And it's like, again, it'll be like the 16th notes will be a different guitar tone to the 8th notes, and that'll be blended in with the kind of consistent amp tone.
Yeah.
And I just love it. I just love I could spend all day, every day dialing guitar tones and playing guitar, and
we're all such like
obsessed
engineer-minded people, you know. Like I think
I've been playing guitar 20 years now, and I'm still not bored of it yet.
There you go. Exactly. I mean, we're definitely the sort of people who will sit down and just, get really nerdy about some technique or some idea. I mean, it's like, again, you get such a different spread of people and methods and ideas. And I mean, I've had guests on the podcast before who I promise have not sat down and thought about doing like a different tone and a different take for their 8th and 16ths.
Yeah.
And dudes who have like really good records or whatever, but it is definitely one of those, like, we are the sort of people who are perfectly willing to just try something kind of weird and different and see where that takes us. I mean, the voice leading. The voice leading guitar thing.
I was literally just about to say that. Yeah. And the thing is, like, for me, it's not about like, oh yeah, I can do this, or I could do the whole 8th notes and 16th notes separately because, and it's kind of a flex kind of thing. It's not that at all. It's for me, it's all about telling the story. It's all about getting that emotion across. And if you have to jump through all these hoops to get it to sound the way you want it to get the message across that kind of invokes that emotion in the listener, then it's worth it. But if that doesn't actually add to the emotional intent, then it's pointless and it's a waste of time and you won't do it. But yeah, the voice leading thing is something I'm experimenting with at the moment, and that is kind of nuts. I feel like that is probably something I'm going to just leave for this other project I'm doing with Luke.
Yeah.
And I want it to kind of be like the iconic sound of that, or like unique sound of that project, as much as I'll be tempting to put it in everything. But I want it to be just like, I only do that for that.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that you just thought, hey, maybe this would be cool and did it. We're the sort of people who just, hey, maybe you should try voice leading guitar parts. Why not? Play it like an orchestra as if it's a monophonic instrument that you get to play one note at a time, and then just play it as an ensemble.
Just basically pretend that chords don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. You got to play your chords like a violinist rather than a guitarist.
Exactly.
It's brilliant. I love that kind of that kind of creative boundary pushing or just weird engineering stuff. I mean, it's like I'm the same way with synths. As you are. I can just sit there and make noise. And just sit there and dial and patch until I've got this weird FM sound or some kind of weird like additive thing where I've added, modulation only to the even overtones or whatever, like just something ridiculous like that. I love that kind of just sitting down and having fun with it for no reason other than to just do it. And we were talking earlier, Jake is really busy with House Dark, and that's like his whole thing is he's like client who's got 45 minutes of free time or whatever. You're just working on lots of records this year. Like lots.
Yeah, my plan for personal projects, I'm not talking about client projects or stuff, just personal projects, I'm putting out 6 albums. And that includes the Bloody Pineapples one.
This year, you're going to have more albums out than some bands have as a whole discography.
Yeah. And the bands have been around 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it'd be more albums than Metallica did in the 80s.
Exactly, just one year.
In a whole decade. Yeah, that's the plan. And it's 6. It's not 6 albums under one artist either. There's 6 different artists.
Yeah.
So there's 6 different styles.
We got Bloody Pineapples. You're coming back with rock, which we had on the show earlier. That was our first episode.
Yep. We've got the thing I'm doing with Luke, which is currently codenamed H3. It doesn't actually have a proper name yet. We've got the crazy, weird deathcore concept, Better Call Saul thing.
That one's going to be good.
Called Kid Named Finger. Then we've got the punk thing I'm doing with Taylor, called Toby Hawk's Pro Taylor, which is like punk music in the style of Tony Hawk soundtracks. And Bezalel, which is a 17-song double album biblical battle metal.
Yeah. You're going
is everything
all in on
have I missed something else? Or is
Bezalel, H3, Kid Named Finger, BP, Vrach, Taylor Hawk. Yeah, no, that's 6. You got it.
That's the plan. But
you have so many that we had to sit here and count for a second to make sure you've remembered them all.
On the plus side, 3 of those albums are already written, so that doesn't when you say it that way, it's like 3 of them are written, so it's just a case of sitting down and tracking them. That's
for the bands that take 2 years or more to finish a record. That's still a lot, even if it's already written. That's still a lot in 1 year.
Yeah, it's true. But hey, Buckethead did 150 albums in a year, so
this is true. Buckethead's nuts.
There's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish. Well, I mean, it's funny too, because we're talking about like how your writing process goes. And Jake was talking about like, he'll have an idea and he'll work on it and just kind of play with it until it feels good. And, he's saying like one of the tracks took more than a year and he was just kind of getting the whole thing. I feel like with you though, you pretty much just sneeze and you're like, oh, look at the napkin. I've got 4 more songs.
Well, yeah, I mean, what was you saying about the URM thing? I was tasked with
analogy there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, was it Lars Ulrich said that in the time it takes James Hetfield to tune his guitar, he's written 3 new songs?
Yeah, I feel like that's you. That's you with all of us.
Literally,
and Tony's like that too.
I was tasked with writing a Suicide Silence style song, which I've never done before. So I had a day of work. I listened to 2 Suicide Silence albums on repeat while I was working. Got home, and I picked up the guitar, opened up Guitar Pro, and I'm like, right, I'm going to write a song now. 50 minutes later, it was done.
Yep, and that was the latest Tone Throne.
It was, and that included programming the drums. And that doesn't always happen. Obviously you've got songs from 2006 that are finally seeing the light of day.
Yeah.
But I just kind of, for me, it's just like sit down, write.
Yeah. It just clicks for you.
I've got to go again. So it was very lovely to speak to you both. And
of course,
I look forward to hearing the whole episode.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming back on. We absolutely will have you again. I mean, with all those records, there's plenty of episodes to bring you back on for
That's
sure.
That's very true. Yeah.
Plenty. There will be no shortage of hearing from Toby. Don't you worry.
Sorry about that.
No, don't apologize to me. You've made my schedule a lot easier to make.
I mean, that's the whole reason he's doing it. He wants a specific podcast for each record.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah, I just want to get on the True North Audio podcast as much as I can.
Yeah, you're going to accidentally be a co-host anyway, just for pure fact of how many records you're putting out.
It looks that way. Right. Well, take it easy. Catch you later.
Sounds good. Peace. Yeah, like I said, Tony's the other guy. I mean, Tony, of course, you and I have known for ages, and another Pineapple former guest. And dude, I don't know if I had mentioned to you, I must have, I feel like probably even on the last episode, but when I met Tony, there was a year, I want to say 2013 or 2014, where he wrote like a new song every single day, like it would literally be like, get off work or whatever. And Tony would call me up on Skype and be like, hey, check it out. I got a new song for you in Dropbox or whatever. Like every single day there'd be a new song from Tony to check out. Like the dude's insanely prolific.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to me to hear like how fast some people can write songs, because mine, I will spend probably a minimum of 3 weeks to a month.
Yeah.
just to make sure everything is perfect. Because like Dark Forest, I mentioned that my songwriting process just kind of like appears out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
But with Dark Forest, I actually kept a journal on how I wrote everything.
Nice. Maybe you'll have to pull that up. We're talking about filming our processes as much as possible and doing a little mini doc just kind of for ourselves or whatever. But if you got that, maybe you should pull that up and kind of read through your process.
Yeah, no, I got it right here.
Oh, sweet.
It took 6 scrolls of my thumb to get to the very bottom going at maximum speed.
Oh, man, that is a lot of notes. You got that thing detailed then.
Yeah, so it looks like I wrote this on 24th. Well, I got my months wrong, but I started this on October 26th of last year is when I came up with the idea, and I finished it November 20th. So a little under a month right there. But that's kind of kind of typical.
Almost even 4 weeks, I'd think, more or less.
Something like that, yeah. But then kind of, I plan on doing a video of this whenever the album drops, so I won't give too much. But I came up with the idea of having it be somewhat of like a metal ballad, kind of like Lorna Shore's Pain Remains series.
So good. We were watching that when we were out there for the show, hanging out at House Dark on the all of us just sitting in the couch and pulling up like the Lorna Shore, the Pain Remains like videos and stuff.
Yeah, those were done so well.
Yeah. Yeah, we were all vibing with that. To be fair, that Lorna Shore album I think is like one of the metal sweethearts of the last year. Everyone had that on their list, you know? Like, even people who didn't listen to metal had that on their list. It was nuts.
But yeah, just with how powerful and how much I like the song, I wanted to do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's, again, kind of taking from Collab Smash of do a song in the style of this artist.
Yeah.
So I just kind of ran with that.
I think I mentioned on the last podcast, but I think that helps as well, just having that kind of limitation so that you're not like too lost in the weeds going for every single idea, being able to kind of limit yourself a little bit, get the core structure together, and then kind of experiment with it after that.
Yeah, for sure. And then I picked up my guitar and I started in drop E and found a couple frets that I liked, and then just started messing around, and then I tried it in drop G, and that ended up being a little bit better. That way the guitars weren't so low that it would blend in with like the cellos and the bass of the orchestration, where you could really distort it with like the nameless and have it cut through.
Yeah.
And then I started adding orchestration, and there were some points where I'm like, here guitar is going to have the lead, at this section violins are going to have the lead, and that kind of stuff.
There's a lot of really good interplay. We're planning on going really hard on orchestration and synths and stuff on this one. That was kind of the plan already, but like we just realized some of our favorite tracks that we make have that like that extra detail, you know? It's like we got it going on in the live shows. We got, plenty of tracks where we're putting in like, even if it's just pieces of things like, having the violins at the end of something or whatever, or just like the air raid siren or whatever, the tornado siren, little things like that. We find that kind of just ear candy really, really brings our style.
And that wasn't a little thing. I had to go through a lot for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think last time we were joking about, when you hear a tornado siren, you got to run outside with your phone, waving it in the air, and maybe try to record the tornado too. That would be really metal. No.
Yeah, until you hear nothing at the very end.
You hear a lot of clattering and noise, and it'll be really chaotic. It'll sound awesome, very metal, but
Yeah, like have you seen the movie Twister?
Oh, I've seen the movie. This is where we need Tony on. Twister's like one of Tony's favorite movies ever.
Oh, dude, that was I can't say that was one of the first movies, but I saw that when I was a kid because I was obsessed with tornadoes for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And like I think it was a month ago. I was looking it up on YouTube, and they have like the isolated Twister sounds that they used from the movie.
Oh, geez.
And they have like the wind, the growls, and like obviously a lot of pan automation. It's fantastic.
That's got me nuts. We should definitely maybe look into that and see if we can build a soundscape out of a similar thing. See if we can recreate that.
I've kind of already.
Aha! I see. Well, maybe we'll have to find a place to sneak that in. I always love that. Like, it's amazing. Again, that's one of the other things with URM, being able to pull those tracks apart and actually hear like all the extra layers of stuff that's like, it's not meant to be heard. It's just meant to be felt. But you play around with it and you're just like, oh, there is way more going on here. Like, oh man, I don't remember which track it was, but there's definitely one track that just has like a texture that's underneath the music that is like someone peeing in a toilet, you know? It's like,
that was a Mix Rescue.
Was it? No. There's one of the actual tracks has that too. I'm trying to remember what it is. It would have been like a few years ago. I want to say it might have been Bullet for My Valentine, but I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, you get all these layers and like, I never knew there was a synth there. I never knew that there was like a white noise kind of weird thing going on. I never knew there was like, you know, you'd hear it and it would be like something from like a news article or whatever. You know, there's just so much just tiny, tiny subtle texture that's, you know, you don't even hear it. You just kind of feel it. But as soon as you mute it out, you're like, oh, this song sounds really dry and empty now. And I don't know why. And you bring in all those extra layers. Like, oh, this is just kind of filling in those empty holes, you know?
Yeah, the song sounds dry without the P. That's usually how it goes.
Exactly. I don't think we'll be doing that for our record. But, you know, I mean, if you're listening out there for your band, go for it. You know,
just up the gain. Don't go for proximity effects,
or go for the binaural effect and just like have, you know, one of those little binaural heads in the room with you.
But yeah, then kind of back to the notes.
Yeah,
I had three main sections, so like three kind of strong riffs, and I spent maybe about a week just rearranging them, seeing what order would work.
Yeah.
Once I found an order, I would add orchestration and then kind of rearrange everything again. So there was a lot of doubt making the song about, is this riff good enough to be this? Would choir help here versus violins and like there was so much, because this is the first time I'd done something that elaborate.
Yeah. And I mean, here we are now. Everybody's really stoked on it, and we can't wait to get it out for the world to hear.
Then there's another section where I ended up getting the bass MIDI wrong, where I had
like out of tune, or
it was playing a different note. So I accidentally tabbed a cooler pattern in the bass, so I ended up re-recording guitars. And
oh man,
I wish I would have typed out which section it was, so I could have known.
You got all those notes and you don't even know which section it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was in the middle of doing it, and then maybe I hit save and close the session, but no, accidents happen. That's how a lot of cool things come to fruition in some of these songs, in my case.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's amazing what you just kind of something comes together and go, oh, you know what? That is really cool. We're going to do that.
And then I was struggling with the choir melody at this part.
Yeah.
And even when it came with the, to the breakdown, the trying to make a dramatic tempo change sound that smooth.
Yeah.
That was not an easy one. Not even doing like open palm mutes, but having like the open G string and then having the first frets on the D string. So it has like that dissonant kind of,
yeah,
I don't know how to say it, like arc.
Yeah.
So that was my first time doing that also, and it just added to the chaos for sure.
That's one of those things too, you know. I mean, we talked about it again. We talked about on the last episode where sometimes you're not really trying to sit down and think out like how detailed you want it to be or whatever. You just kind of play around with it and think, this sounds good. It is good. I like this, you know. like we were doing with the synths and stuff. We weren't really sitting down too much. Like, I think the only time we ever tried to figure out the tuning of anything was when we were trying to figure out the notes in a train whistle. And other than that, it was just like, I was just kind of playing notes until I thought it sounded really cool with the music, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't really know any theory or the notes on the guitar or anything like that. So like when I was doing the orchestration, that's when I'm like, okay, there's a G at this note, so I'll move all the orchestration to a G and then maybe do it a whole step above, a whole step down, or just really doing it by ear.
I mean, it's funny too, because like, you know, again, Toby was talking earlier about voice leading guitar chords and stuff. And it's like, that's some dense music theory stuff that people are not going to think of unless they've studied the theory, you know. And then on my end, it's like, I know theory. I studied theory. I took, you know, courses and classes in it and have kept up with it and everything. But at the same time, there's plenty of times where I'm sitting there with like Fellowship, for example, when I was doing all the like under tracks for that, which is like, there's a whole counter melody that you can't even hear in, like, it's not even meant to be heard. Again, it's like, it's a whole counter melody that's happening underneath the song that's like a texture to it, you know. But it was very much, I'm moving notes around until I like the way they sound. Like, I could certainly sit down and go like, I want to have some like really strong, like perfect fourths on all the downbeats or something. But, you know, even knowing the theory, a lot of the time I kind of like to just feel it, you know, just play around with it until I go, that's a really cool interval.
Yeah, because even like the breakdown in Dark Forest is personally one of my favorite things I've ever written.
Mm-hmm.
And it took the longest time because with me trying to write it in the style of Lorna Shore, one thing I realized about their breakdowns, and especially in the newer album, is that you can't predict them.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a set pattern that they follow. So I had to kind of do that in a way where it sounds unpredictable and chaotic, but not like it doesn't all belong together.
Yeah, which is quite a challenge for sure.
Yeah, that one easily took 3 weeks of the 4 weeks I spent doing the song. But
I believe it.
I'm happy with the results, and especially because I had to do that strictly just focusing on the instrumental and then trying to add vocals later.
Yeah.
And not to mention the one vocal I added when I was horribly sick. If you remember that story.
Oh yeah.
So one thing to look out for everyone listening is there's a note I do in the breakdown of that song, and I was off work because I was just horribly sick with either like a cold or the flu, but my voice, I definitely should not have been screaming by but there was just, I had to get it like on paper, and my speaking voice was hurting. Not that my screaming voice would have been the better alternative.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just ended up just doing a take. And then, of course, when I ended up getting better, I could not replicate that sound by any means. Like, I know it can be done, not only because I did it, but because I've heard vocalists with a lot more experience than me be able to do it consistently. But until I figure that out, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that live. But
I'm just going to throw this out as a disclaimer, though. If you're sick, rest your voice. You only get one. Don't hurt yourself.
Don't do that. Yeah, by all means, do not do that.
Yeah. Just want to throw that out there just in case. You know, I don't want to be responsible for anyone going, the board will do it, so I'm going to throw out my voice.
No, now it makes me look like the bad guy. I should have preempted that story.
No, you're good. You're good. I feel the need to do that because I've definitely hurt my voice being sick and not resting before. So.
Oh, no, I have to, like, this is probably the one instance where, other than the tornado siren, where irresponsibility has paid off.
Yeah,
a ton. But more often than not, just don't do that. We're trained professionals. Don't try it at home.
Exactly. Or learn how to do it when you're not sick and put us to shame.
Yeah.
Which is the better option.
But yeah, I'm super excited about that song. It's turned out way better than I could have imagined. And then like I was happy with it before even bringing on the guest artists.
Yeah.
And then seeing the result with everything put together, like I never could have imagined that it could sound that different. Like not good, not better, just different.
Just getting another perspective on it, another kind of creative input.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I said not good, not better. I meant to say not good, not bad.
Yeah,
but it's just an entirely different world, an entirely different level of quality. Like,
we're all really stoked on this guest too. Like, I really want to be able to tell you who it is, but you'll get to learn soon enough. I mean, it's not going to be super, super long before we get everything. I mean, like I said, going to go through March, get it all recorded, and don't know what the release date's going to be yet, but I mean, it shouldn't be too much further away. But man, you guys are not ready for just how hard this record is going to go.
Yeah, but in the meantime, we got to be selfish, and like I have most of the songs on Dropbox, so in my hour drive to work every morning, I'm just listening to those on the way there and back.
Yeah. You feel like you've got vocal parts more or less finished for the record?
I'm not too sure. I'm still trying to write the ones that I've resurrected before looking at anyone else's.
Yeah.
Because like I can only focus on like one or two songs at a time, or else I'm gonna lose focus. They're all gonna blend together, and that's not gonna be good for anything.
No, for sure. I mean, maybe it'll glue the kind of vision together, but it might be a little too much.
Yeah, because like especially in a project like this, you want everything to be, kind of like Toby said, everything needs to be different, but still
cohesive. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy too, is you can do records that have like wildly different things going on, and they're still cohesive in one way or another. I think of, Vulgar Display, the first one we put out, Vulgar Display of Fruit, not of Power. Which reminds me, my buddy Jake, the one who showed up to our show, he messaged me the other day. He's like, I just realized that your album title is a Pantera reference.
Oh, buddy.
But yes, I mean, when we did Vulgar Display of Fruit, I mean, we have one set of core samples for the drums that are on every record, or excuse me, on every song to kind of tie that sound together. But we have live drums on that record and at least two different drummers, and I think of like A Perfect Circle, Eat the Elephant, I think had three different drummers and three different studios at three different years even. It's a great cohesive album, but I mean, that album was recorded in pieces over quite a long time, and it's interesting to see how you make those kind of cohesive moves, because it's one of those, like, we prefer, again, we're all engineer minded people. We prefer to have like a tying kind of thread, something that is consistent across the board. But we also don't want to just commit ourselves entirely to that, because we want those little ear candy things. I've made that mistake in records I've made in the past where I've tried too hard to tie it all together and didn't have enough of that like extra candy in it, like, what Toby was talking about with the 8ths and 16ths, or even just, having a scratchy tone and a beefy tone that kind of fill in different parts. Like, if I'd done that with previous records I've done, then they'd sound even cooler.
But that's another thing that you need to establish from the start. Because like the one of the records I'm working on with Toby right now it's meant to be a concept album where each song is like telling a different part of the story. So you can listen to it chronologically and know exactly where in the story you're at. Yeah. But when it comes to this record, that wasn't really the goal of it. It was just to have
12 really sick songs.
What's that?
12 really sick songs.
I mean, but not only that, but it's kind of meant to be like where someone can find one song that they really like just because of like how we wrote it. Yeah. Like, it's not like all the songs are meant to hit this subgenre, but where we kind of spread out and just write these songs based on doing what we love.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think it's also one of those things that it's important to note that both things are valid. You know, I mean, you don't have to have this grand vision. I think that, like the ones you're working on with Toby, I think most of the ones Toby is doing are basically concept albums of some kind or very close to, you know, like one singular grand vision. But
Yeah.
not all of them are, not all of them have to be.
Yeah, because that was another thing that I've noticed whenever we were doing shows at like whether it was Rivera Fest or opening for Chaosium or even the WoW Hall or even a Battle of the Bands that I've done.
Yeah.
Because like I was, and I don't think I've said it out loud before, but but when I was told we were going on right before Chaosium, I got so nervous. I'm like, okay, these guys flew in from pretty much the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And it's our songs that we wrote for fun that have to not only like not necessarily friendly competition, but kind of have to stack up against what other two bands did, and now only introduce them and try not to have people walk out the door.
Have you seen that Derek from Part-Time Superheroes has been liking a bunch of our stuff?
I have, yeah.
Shout out to them. I just had to. Yeah, no, I mean, the other thing too is like, you looking at like Chaosium and stuff, they've got like music videos on YouTube with 8-9 million views and stuff. They've got like clearly an audience. They're a known band and they're flew in from halfway across the world, and you're up here like, oh, do we stack up? You know, how are we gonna like translate this to the headliner, which I think did pretty well. A lot of people were really stoked on it. But yeah, I mean, I can imagine how like nerve-wracking that's gonna be.
Well, because even like with the other shows, like I was saying, is that's why I'm thankful that we do what we do, where we don't really confine ourselves to just one subgenre.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there was one band I remember hearing at one of our past concerts where they were awesome, and then I was telling Jake, like, dude, have you heard these guys? They're insane. He's like, yeah, I've heard of them. They're just primarily, you know, breakdowns, and if you've heard one song, you've heard them all. And that stuck with me, because then watching the rest of their set, I'm like, oh yeah, he's right. Like,
yeah, and I mean that's sick.
I want to make
at the same time,
it's absolutely sick. Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure like we don't ever, you know, have that impression, because that kind of ruined it for me a little bit. But like their breakdowns were incredible.
Yeah,
but just, you know, it's almost like reading
it's just not our vision.
It's like reading the last chapter of a book and then starting the book from the start. It's like, okay, I know what's coming, but
yeah, I mean, you can do that if you're a really good writer. You know how to start with the climax and build up to it. But I mean, it is definitely, it's one of those things. Like, our vision is very broad. We're a broad group of people with a very broad vision. And I mean, like I said, being all breakdowns is pretty sick too. I mean, as some of my favorite bands are, you know, pretty straightforward in that way. And sometimes you're just jamming out to them because it's good to get in the pit. But yeah, I mean, that's just not our vision. That's not what we're doing. You know, we got our own thing going on. We kind of want to add a journey to the experience. You know, we want people to like it. I mean, it's tricky too. The downside for us or any band that has that really wide spectrum of music is how to introduce it to people who don't know what you are. Because if they really like one song, but you're not doing that all the time, then they're like, oh, I like the one song. You know, they got the one good song. But, you know, I mean, it's one of those like trying to figure out which part of your discography is the one to gateway people into what you're doing.
Yeah.
I run into that, like, you know, people are like, oh, you're in a band. What do you have? Like, let me just show you like 4 songs and let you kind of, you know, go from there.
Yeah, that I definitely run into that too, because like if I'm on Facebook looking for places to post our stuff,
yeah,
and you know you'll see people. It's like, hey, if you want to be added to our playlist, or hey, we do music reviews, then I'll do a different song for each one. So in case like one person runs across multiple ones, they can kind of get a feel for it.
Exactly. I mean, it's one of those things like, it's a double-edged sword. You know, one of the like. Yeah. if you're a band that's all breakdowns, you're easy to sell. People know what you're about. You have that elevator pitch down, but sometimes you can get the impression like you've heard one song, you've heard them all, like you said, maybe you've read the last chapter first and you already know what's happening. But then, the other end of that coin is, if you're a band that's super diverse in your sound, it's like, well, what do you recommend? Oh, well, they liked the one song, but that's because that one song was the style they're into, but they're, like they really got into Slain and Rage, but, Lion's Den doesn't sound like Slain and Rage or something. But I mean, yeah, it's regardless of that, we are definitely a sort of band who's accepted, like that is our thing. We're fine being the band that you got to figure out how to introduce people to, because we're not just the one thing. I mean, we are a vision that's really broad, and we have the most fun putting out a song that feels different. We have a ton of fun putting out Lion's Den and then Vaspinish and then, whatever. Like I said, we let John in, which is totally different from either one of those, because that's what excites us. That's what we have fun with. We want to have people at the show not expecting us, And
that's the other thing about it. Like when I was working on putting together the live set lists, obviously wanted us to start with Slain, because that's going to get people moving. And then goes into the Fellowship, where you have Phoebe harmonizing with Tony's vocals for some nice,
which is awesome.
Like take your ladder out and move it back and forth kind of music.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, okay, one of them speaking German, but it grooves.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things too, is like the energy in the pit can change, and it's kind of fun to keep people on their toes, And then have enough, that's the other thing, an advantage to the variety is that you can have the kind of slower moments where you can give people a chance to like stop and breathe and slow down and like not be mosh pit 45 minutes straight. You can give them a chance to like rest and then get the energy back up and be fully back in when like Lion's Den kicks in and they're, smashing the keg and everybody's, just throwing down or whatever. It's like you can have that variety enough to give people that ebb and flow. And I personally like that energy in a pit. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of one of those to each their own. Everyone's going to have a different preference. There's no correct way to do it. It's just we have the vision of, I mean, I guess you could say it's just like we have the vision of like a prog band, except instead of doing just lots of 15-minute songs of, 11/8, like Jake was talking about that 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, we'll do that too, like what Jake was saying, but it's kind of one of those, like, we're prog in that we just make songs that draw from different styles and kind of do it in our own vision,
And that's something I was very conscious of when putting everything together.
Yeah.
Because like even seeing the bands that I love, whenever they say it's like, okay, we're going to slow it down a bit, it's like, okay, we know what ballad they're going to play, because usually they just have one or two.
Yeah, exactly.
But like with us, it's slowed down a little bit, but it's an entirely different energy, different subgenre.
Yeah.
And, whoever's drawn to that, it'll then be their turn at the front row, and then people just kind of rotate like that.
Exactly. And I mean, it's like for us, sometimes we're deathcore, sometimes we're like symphonic melodeath, sometimes we're new metal, we're pretty all over. I would love to find a rapper though. I think it'd be really cool to find like a really solid rapper we could bring in to like add that to our repertoire. I can't say that.
I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be really cool. But I mean, it's like, I love being able to play with different styles and sounds and feels and keep people on their toes.
Yeah, it's also fun because like on stage, like you can just see everybody's face, like how the music's affecting them.
Oh yeah. And it's funny too, because that like you get a little something different for everyone in the audience. There's going to be dudes who are, like having the advantage of being able to say like different dudes have a different favorite song. Like even in the band, I think each one of us has a different song that we would say like, this is the song that we love the most, Like,
like for me right now, it's been Vaspinish, because I have 2 lines left to memorize until I'm able to start performing it.
Nice. There you go. That's going to be sick. I'm looking forward to it. 2 years.
It only took 8 months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like Jay, of course, is just like, oh yeah, I'd speak German well enough. I can just lay it down. Of course, that was the Rammstein month, so it's like it has to be in German, you know. But yeah, I mean, you don't have that just down, but you got to really focus on learning that. But yeah, no, I mean, it's like you got Vospanish. I think, you know, for me, Lion's Den and Slain and Rage are probably my two favorite at the moment. I think I'm trying to remember. I feel like I remember somebody saying that they like didn't really dig Triangles that much, but it won that month, so who cares? Like I think it might have been Toby, maybe. Is like I think he was saying he didn't dig Triangles as much, but I was really into it or whatever. But like, I mean, it's one of those things too. It's like we can create these songs that are more one person's preference or vision than another, and really get into kind of what we're doing with them. And I think that that's actually like something pretty. I think it keeps everybody just a little bit more satisfied too. You know, like being able to do songs that are ones that are very much your style or vision, knowing that, you know, somebody else might do one that you're not as into or one that you're really into, but there's no reason to be like, oh no, the band is making music I don't like, or oh no, the band's making music I'm just not that into. You don't really have to worry about that because it's going to cycle back around to the stuff you're doing as well, you know? And I feel like that's the same for the fans. It's like, you know, a lot of fans, if a disadvantage of being the one thing the whole time, a lot of fans might burn out on that. Or, you know, somebody's like, if it changes slightly, the other thing is like the people who are really, really into it and it changes slightly and you have the guys like, no, I want 7 albums of the same breakdowns. The slight change in melody on this one track ruined the whole band forever. You know, like you can develop a fan base that is, you know, not going to be as worried about if you do something they don't like because they know that it's not like a permanent change or anything. They know you're all over the place. They know not to expect things from you, you know?
I mean, I don't think that Bloody Pineapples has written a single song that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, I like all of our songs.
On the last podcast, I said that there have been some songs where I think we could have hit the execution a little better.
Yeah.
But like all the ideas are there.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I'm in the same, to be fair though, I'm also the sort of person who just listen to anything all the time. I just love music. Just inject music into my veins, please. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those, I think, the advantage is that I don't think anyone hates any of our, like anyone in the band. I don't think anyone in the band hates any of our songs, or at least if they do, they've not said it. Like at the worst I've heard, it's just been, I wasn't as into that one, you know, just like I didn't feel that as much as I felt this, which, you know, totally fair. But it's still, even then, it's like, I feel like it's one of those things where that variety gives you the opportunity to, it can give you the opportunity to have misses that people are not as into and it not matter, you know, because the point is you're making music, you know, you're never going to hit 100% of the time for 100% of the people. But with a band like us, we just kind of accept that and do our thing. And as long as we feel good about it, you know, on the whole, then we did it. We made an awesome song.
Yeah, because what I also like is some of the songs can just serve as gateways into other songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you could really like go on a YouTube playlist or a Spotify one, start with the song you like the most, go to the next one and say, okay, I can see how that kind of connects. And then before you know it, you're at like the Moribund level or the Rocket Spectre level, and then you're kind of cycling back out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of options there. And I think an advantage for us as well in that like broader sense is that we can like hit up different types of metal. You know, like if you got a guy like, you know, a podcast or a playlist that seems to prefer that kind of melodeath edge, maybe you're going to send them one song, but you got another one that's got that kind of like thrash edge. You're going to send them another song. Like, you know, you're going to send, what am I thinking? The Slayer month. You're going to send, oh man, I keep on just say Raining Blood, but that's the Slayer song. Avenger, you know, you send Avenger to the Thresh. What was that?
Yeah. I was gonna say I had the EP right by me. I was looking up the title.
Yeah. So like Avenger, you send that one to somebody who's got more of a thrashy kind of, taste. If you got someone who's got more of a new metal taste, maybe you're gonna send them something like, Kill Pop or Lion's Den or something like that. If you got somebody who wants something more symphonic, you're gonna send them Forest or Slain in Rage. Like you can kind of hit a wider variety of playlists or podcast reviewers with songs that they're going to like more, and know that can be a gateway for some of those guys.
And that's the beauty about it. Like, without knowing it, we've been playing this smart from the start.
I think John Maciel was playing it smart from the start, forcing us to be so diverse in our style.
I mean, that's one of the cool. That's one of the cool byproducts of the competition. I know, like, being in the URM group, that I think I've seen only one other band has like done a gig.
Yeah,
that has been created from the collab smash.
Well, to be fair, didn't the H3, the other project you and Toby are doing, didn't that start also from a collab smash?
I think it did, but
I know it's not played live, but
yeah, I'm talking about kind of like the live shows with the songs. Because I know one other group has done it, but as far as like consistency, I want to say I haven't seen, other than us, anybody who's kind of kept on it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's fine, as that's not the point. It was, for a lot of guys, it was just write a song and win some cool gear or whatever. But yeah, I mean, for us, it really just clicked. I think we just found the right group of people, and we all just vibed with each other. And, now we're all chatting with each other every day and having ideas and putting together a whole record, which, I mean, like Jake was saying, couldn't have seen this coming from day one. Day one, we started at the same reason anyone else did. We're just like, oh, cool, they're giving away some like free drum samples or whatever. If we win the songwriting contest, we can do that. Let's write a song and win some drum samples, and then it's like I said, like a few months in, we're like, this could be a real thing. We're like really developing a voice and a character here, even though it is, again, it's all over. It's like, I feel like we have kind of us, a thing that we are.
Yeah, because I mean, it's allowed me to spread out so much as far as music goes.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned before that I started with guitar in 2010 as just a Christmas present.
Yeah.
And you fast forward all the way a little more than 12 years later. Now I'm learning how to program lights and doing a podcast. Like, if I thought I would ever be doing that when I first started, like, it's the typical answer to say no way, but it's the truth.
Mine is crazy too. I gave up on being in a band. Like, I'd been doing that for years and it wasn't going anywhere. And it's like, we didn't have the right lineup, or we didn't share the right vision, or like so many little things. A lot of them were on me as well. But it's like, whatever it was that wasn't coming together, whether it was just like me being too tired, or my imposter syndrome sinking in, or like, so like one guy wouldn't show up, or one guy's not committed, or, all of us can't agree on how we want to record or what style of music we want to be. One of us thinks it's too heavy, one thinks it's not heavy enough, or whatever. It's like, I reached a point where it's like, I've never felt good enough at any instrument to feel like I belong in a band. And I also just realized that I'm an engineer. Like, I love mixing, I love mastering. That's my vision. That's my kind of passion. And I never saw myself being in a band after a certain point. And I kind of gave up on the band that, my roommates and I were in. And, we kind of all did our own separate things. And some of us are doing different things than others. But it was kind of one of those, like, I reached a point where I'm just like, I don't think I'm cut out to be in a band. I don't think I'm the right person to be in a band. I don't think I'm like fit for that sort of role. And now here I am having a podcast with my band about the record we're putting out later this year. So,
and we had you 5 months ago smashing a keg opening for
yeah exactly. It's like, I definitely never saw myself on stage. And I mean, it's like, I was only there to smash a keg for one song for a few beats. Like, I wasn't doing anything like super crazy or impressive. That's not like, oh man, let me tell you about the time I was on tour for one show, for one song, smashing a keg with a drumstick. But well, I mean, you actually like have moved to different places to play shows and play the whole show. You're a key member. I'm just a dude in the back banging on a keg. But no, I mean, I definitely, just like, even for that, I never saw myself on stage like performing, and now I'm like, I don't know, I kind of want to do that again. You know, kind of want to, I don't know, maybe it's tricky. As again, I still feel like a terrible like performer or musician, but at the same time, it's like, it's weird. I see myself on a stage at some point. Maybe I see myself on a record. I have a band. I'm doing this again. I think Bloody Pineapples was just kind of it was the right fit for what skill I do have. You know, it's like, I can't write a song, but I can add ear candy to something someone else has written. You know, you give me the melody, I can, you know, put more onto that. I can mess around with that usually. So it's like, being able to fit into something like that still gives me a creative outlet. And I am certainly no key member. I'm an original founding member, but I'm not like, I am not the most important guy in the band or whatever. But still, it's like, for me, I never saw being any kind of any guy in a band after a while, and now here I am.
I mean, I don't think we really view ourselves on having like a most important member.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure.
I mean, obviously we kind of just view it off of like skills, because we know Toby can do guitars and tones all day. You know, I can do vocals, song arrangement. You can do synths, keyboards. Yeah. You know, we have Tony with his vocals, Phoebe with hers. We have Guy, Mike, Jake with guitars also, and
and then on the record, we know Sam can play some sick bass, or Sam can play some sick drums, and Max can play some sick bass.
Yeah, no, I've been messaging Max. I kind of feel bad, but like I think too often.
Just
because like when Lions Den came out, I'm like, dude, what are you using for the bass? Because like I had the DI, I had the amped bass that he sent over. I'm like, dude, this is nuts. And he's sending me pictures. He's like, yeah, man, it's my Dingwall. You're gonna want to get it used. He's just giving me a roadmap to get one. Like, dude, you're awesome, man. Dude,
Max is an amazing. Everybody on this record is really talented. Again, letting my imposter syndrome sink in for a minute. Like, I'm sitting here like, all these guys are so much better than me at everything. But no, it's, I mean, Max is his tone it really cuts through. Like, you know, I mean, if you're a fan of, what am I thinking? If you're a fan of Glenn Fricker, as most of us here have been or are, but if you're a fan of Glenn Fricker, you probably know rule number 2. That doesn't apply to Max. Max is not a rule number 2 bassist.
No, he's a useful.
He is incredible. Yeah, no, I mean, he is an insanely talented dude, and same like Sam is just such a great drummer. Like we did the drum-free versions of all the songs, and he'll just like post like, oh, I just kind of playing around with this part, and he'll sit down and like he'll send us a file of him just playing drums, and it's like even just him playing drums, kind of demoing over our tracks sounds amazing, you know, but he'll just send us one of the tracks like, oh, I was doing this with Dark Force. How does this sound? And it's like every time he sends like, it sounds amazing, dude. Are you kidding? It's great. You know, it's like Cal from Bell, you know, we were putting that together, and I'm just, you know, I'm hearing what he said. Like I said on the last podcast, I was really struggling with trying to get parts together for that. You know, as it crossed enough into songwriting for me to kind of struggle with it. But, you know, I sent over kind of what I had at that point, and Sam is just like, oh, let me throw some drums on that. And he's just like, dude, these sound incredible. Like, I see the vision for the song now, you know? It's like as soon as you got Sam's drums on, it's like, this is it. I can see where this song is going. I can see what we're doing with this, and it's going to be incredible, you know? Like, yeah. I'm excited.
Because I know anytime he sends something over, I kind of have to like put it into my DAW just because.
Yeah.
For me to fully, like, I guess like immerse myself in the song, like it has to be mixed a certain way. And sometimes like, you know, like if he sends over a drum stem with the song, just not really like sidechained or, you know, it's not going to be a perfect fit like that. So then I have to like program it myself and be like, okay, now this sounds like it'll fit.
Yeah, just to get your. It's funny too because we all the way we do this, and of course we talked about this before, but the way we do this because we're all over the world is we have the kind of main songwriter for any given song, so it'll be like Toby or Tony or you or Jake, and we'll put that song together with the like whatever stems or demo or something and a map or even just like originally the Cal from Bell just came from a Guitar Pro project, we'll get that. We'll have that kind of fundamental structure of a song. And then we'll start passing it back and forth to people to do parts on it and start sharing multi-tracks. And yeah, each of us has kind of a different workflow for each of those. Like for me, my workflow goes really fast if I have MIDI, If I have the guitar parts in MIDI, which because we write in Guitar Pro for pretty much everything I always do, which is really useful. If we have the guitar parts in MIDI, then I can work off that really quick and easy because I can start just, moving notes around, adding layers to it, put the melody into another synth and kind of play with it until it sounds cool. You're saying like for me, I hear the drums. I just hear that demo that he's put in just one single file of the song with his drums on. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that rhythm. I'm feeling that groove. Like I can just kind of picture the whole thing. And, you're saying you put it in and you program out the drums and you kind of play with it a bit more and you kind of mess with the mix, how you like to hear it. And that's where your vision starts to like come to life and you can start like picturing what you have there.
Yeah, for sure. Cause like he'll send them over where like the drums are kind of lower in volume. So like it doesn't step on everything else. Mm-hmm. But like I need to hear them cranks, like how's it going to lock in with the guitars and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Originally, when he was sending stuff over for Dark Forest, I was like, I don't know about this. And then after a while, like I know he's a good musician, but there's no way that I'm not going to like what he does. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit on this for a couple days.
Yeah.
And then I started programming it, and I'm like, oh, okay. Now hearing it this way, yeah, that's definitely going to work.
Yeah.
And then kind of doing that bit by bit, I'm like, okay, now I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's like each of us are going to have a different place where it's going to click, and it's one of those things like, again, I'm a terrible songwriter. So when I listen to a song, I kind of like, if the parts aren't there, they're not there in my head either, So it's like if it's not complete, I'm still struggling to see the vision. And that's where I was struggling with like Cal from Bell. At the time, all I had was a MIDI guitar. That was it. That was the whole. Well, I mean, there was a drum, but it like when I got it all in and I started putting like better samples on it and like guitar samples, I have like Odin 2 for the guitars and, putting on like nuclear bass or whatever for the bass. Or whatever. It's like when I started putting like not Guitar Pro samples on it, it started not feeling right to me. The drums didn't feel like they fit the guitar to me. So it was one of those, like I ended up having to just remove the drums and focus on guitar and just try my best to like move notes around until I liked it, and it was a real struggle for me because again, it's like, I'm not hearing the parts that are not there. I just hear like a MIDI guitar part, and like trying to get that vision in was a real struggle. And it took a lot longer than if I had like a completed track with the rhythm, the drums already finished, the guitar and bass are already there. And all I have to do is just kind of fill in those empty spaces, I was like really struggling with that. But, Toby, of course, he sits down and is like, perfect. I got something here. Let me just knock out this really, really sick, heavy breakdown part for you. And then Sam is like, oh, I hear exactly what you're going for. Let me rip some drums over the top of that. And suddenly we have a song.
Yeah, because it's so cool how one of us can have one idea and then other people just keep building off it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Especially with what Sam did in the breakdown to Dark Forest, where he started adding triplets for some of the guitar chugs.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, I didn't think of that, but
yeah,
that definitely helps with the movement for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like going back to the old days, the way old days. I mean, 3 years ago when we were doing this, it was funny because I remember it would be like, we would have the like main riff part or whatever, and we put that together, and everybody would do their own guitar tone. There would be like 10 or 15 different amp tracks, and we would just choose the ones we liked the most. And then, we'd put in this part, the synth part or the bass part or whatever, and it would come together, and Arturo would knock out these drums for it, and the drums would sound really sick. And then once we had all that together, then we'd have like 2 or 3 people do their own vocal parts to it, and then we would choose which parts we liked the most. And it's like, these days I feel like we've refined that to the point where we're not doing 15 guitar tones and 3 different vocal parts that we're like comping or figuring out our favorite version of. We've refined the process where we work off each other without the extra bloat, Yeah,
because when I first joined with Moribund, I think I did a mix, you did a mix, and Toby did a mix, and then everyone just voted on their favorite one.
Yep. Yeah, we did that, and we do it for the master too. And now it's like, again, it's like now Ruben's the guy. If we got like the songwriting, you and Toby carry a lot of the songwriting throughout. And then Jake and Tony, of course, have added some of their own songs. And what am I thinking? It's like we let Sam kind of feel it out once we get the riffs together. And as long as Sam has a good feeling of the riffs, he just knocks out some sick drums and stuff. And, Max, all he needs is some guitar. So we're definitely the kind of band that puts guitar forward. But, sometimes we can just kind of put down, like, I think some of Cal from Bell actually drummed first. I think that Sam put down some really sick drums, and Toby's like, oh, that's really cool. I like what you're doing. That gives me this idea for the guitar. And then we had some really sick like breakdown sounds and stuff. But yeah, I feel like we realize we're a pretty guitar forward band, so we start there and we tend to kind of bloom out from that spot. And it all tends to come together pretty easily once somebody's got a good riff.
Yeah, because how many guitar players do we have in both divisions? Let me look it up.
Oh, geez, too many.
Not
enough.
I did like a collage where I put like a photo of everyone just so I could like actually count. Mm-hmm. And I think we had 20 members total.
At least. Yeah,
Here it is.
Heck, we got you play guitar, Jake plays guitar, Toby plays guitar, Jay played guitar, Zeke, I think, plays guitar. Like, he mostly did bass for us, but I think he plays guitar at least. Tony, of course, plays guitar.
Guy does guitar.
Yeah, it's just like, so,
Taylor does also.
Oh, yeah, and he did the solo on a couple things.
He did the solo for Triangles.
Yeah.
Mike. And then I think I have a picture of you playing a guitar.
I am a terrible guitarist, and you don't want to hear me play. Actually, it's funny. The last time I even picked up a guitar and recorded it was 3 years ago for Strange Eons. The intro, the acoustic guitar in the intro. And even at that point, I was so rusty that I had to record it one string at a time. I couldn't even play that whole riff in one go.
Then we also have Sophie. So how many is that total?
Oh, I've already lost count. That's a lot.
I guess we're starting again. So Guy, Toby, Sophie, Tony. Let's see. Jake, Mike, Taylor, Charlie. That's 8.
Yep.
Me is 9. You is 10.
I wouldn't count myself, but sure.
Okay, well, Zeke is 10 then.
Yeah, we'll make Zeke 10.
So, that's half of us right there, guitar-oriented.
We're in a project that has 10 guitarists.
That's
we got more guitarists than Slipknot has members.
Well, our band is one Slipknot cover opening for another Slipknot cover.
For real? For real.
So where we could have a Metallica cover play the winner.
Oh, man. No, it's kind of fun because we are a band. I keep saying that, and it's like anytime I talk about it, it feels like a real band. But it's like when you start pulling apart like the lineup or whatever, like, I think Jake's the lifestyle, I think, is a better description of what we are, because it's like at a certain point you go, you guys got 20 members and it's a different group on every single song, like, are you a band or, but no, I think that, I think that we're just like We're a collective. We're an orchestra. I think we have enough members to qualify as an orchestra, right? At least.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Amazing. Right. Imagine it's like, hey, you have 20 members. How are you a band? It's like, dude, the cast of Hamilton has how many people and they travel for Broadway?
I would love to do a show that is just every person who's been on any song we put out, you know?
Dude, we would need, maybe 4 drum kits?
At least. I mean, we'd have Jake, UK Jake. We'd have Arturo. We'd have Sam.
Arturo.
We'd
Sam.
Oh, man.
Tim, Blake. That's 5, right?
Yeah,
there.
that's 5. Exactly. It's like there's 5 drummers at least, you know? We got the 20 guitarists or so. Well, I mean, to be fair, you and Taylor would probably be doing vocals more than guitar. But Tony might be doing vocals and guitar. Heck, he might even be doing drums for all we know, you know? We got at least 3 bassists, minimum. Like, who would be... We'd have at least 3 Jakes on stage, you know? So Jake UK, Jake House Dark, and Jake from Square Root of Jake. It's that song made one of our records. We'd have Chase for bass. We'd have Zeke for bass. We'd have... Who fills in for Zeke sometimes in the live shows?
Jake does a thing where he pitch shifts his guitar kind of underneath the DI signal. So
basically, technically Jake does. Jake is our bassist sometimes too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, and of course, you know, like I said, Max, like heck, apparently Ruben can sing.
Does he play guitar also?
I think he does.
Okay. So that's 12, right?
Yeah. Right. I think at least 12 or 15 of us can mix too. So yeah, there we go. Just guys, back us up on Kickstarter. We got to really bring in the money because it's going to be really expensive to get all these. Like we got Jay, Toby, and Jake UK, at least in the UK, you know, we got Max. We got, what am I thinking? We had Mark on one of them from Canada. We'd have to get him in. You know, we got Ruben over in Spain. We got Sam over in Brazil. Like, we got a lot of international guys we got to bring in. And I mean, Tony lives up in Alaska right now, which is almost as expensive as flying international anyway, you know? And I mean, you're in Kansas. I'm out here. Taylor, I think, is still in Tennessee. Like, got to get these guys all in one spot. So back us up. Back us up and you can get the Bloody Pineapples Orchestra performance. Man, that'd be sick.
Would.
I think I'm going to start referring to us as an orchestra now, at least.
I mean, we're almost like the personification of everything Devin Townsend adds in the songs.
For real. We were Devin Townsend if he was a whole band.
Like when Genesis was on Nail the Mix, I looked up that song and his live show. Man. He has a lot of people on stage with him.
Oh, for real? Well, I mean, just pull apart the multi-tracks from that one. He's got 3 different drummers on that one song.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, man. I would love to Devin Townsend it up like that. Devin's a great influence. I think Toby's not as into Devin, but I know I am. And I would be so down to really Devin up a show.
Oh, with the lights, we're kind of on our way with that.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. Now we just need some coffee-obsessed alien.
That one's out of my skill set, Kiko.
I could give it a voice. I know it uses that wave morphoder for some of the extra characters in those little videos, so we just need somebody with a puppet, and we're pretty much set, you know?
Oh, 20 people on stage. Oh, and also there's a puppet.
That does feel very Bloody Pineapples, though. That tracks. I'd believe that. That feels like something we do. It's funny, is I think we're going to have less people on this record than we did on the the EP.
I believe it, yeah.
Remember the multiple times we broke up into multiple bands for the collab smash, too.
Yeah, Liquid Earth was the result of one of those.
Yeah, so was Avenger of Blood.
Yeah, but the other one never saw the light of day, though.
That is true. Liquid Earth actually got... Well, to be fair, Liquid Earth was not actually... what am I thinking? That one wasn't actually put out as 2 bands. One of the groups put one out. And then another group adapted that same song into our own version.
Yeah,
how are we at that, by the way? Which one of those is winning? Is it us? Are we winning?
The U.S. version.
Yes.
Yeah, because that was for the Gojira collab smash.
Yeah.
And it was Liquid Earth UK version that ended up making the polls, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then Jake ended up sending me the instrumental. He's like, hey, why don't you see what you can do with this?
Yes, I think if I remember right, the US versus UK thing started because of the live shows. He wanted to put it into the set, and he wanted to kind of mess around with, like, you know, Toby, who did the vocals for that one, he's not over here. He's not performing. So what if we did, like, you do the vocals? And then he hit me up too. He was like, hey, want to throw in some like synth parts at the end and stuff, you know, kind of mess around with that. And, you know, have something we could kind of mess around with like during the set. And so I was like, oh yeah, no, I'd be down for that. It could be a lot of fun. Like, you know, in my head, it's like, I don't think there was much or any synth on the original version. So I think it was just kind of like, oh, why don't we throw some of those in just to kind of fill in the track? But yeah, we started like putting together a whole different like version, the US version. And then I think Toby caught wind of that. It's like, oh, hold on. Why didn't anyone talk about this with me? I guess we need to put out two versions now. And now we have the US UK duel of the Liquid Earths, which is another one of my favorite songs. Honestly, I think that one, both versions are sick.
Yeah, because it also goes to show like kind of the collaboration right there, to where we can have the exact same instrumental, but depending on how you see it working, that's going to determine the final products.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Toby kind of embraced more of the polyrhythm with his, and it's definitely that Gojira style. Where on my end, I can't count polyrhythms to save my life. So I kind of did it in a 4/4 time, where someone who's not familiar with polyrhythms can easily bang their head to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing too, is like, you just got that, I'm trying to remember what the word is like, there is a word for like playing multiple different time signatures at the same time. But
Madness.
What was that?
Madness.
Madness. Tool's drummer's doing it in just one instrument. But oh man, I think it'd be fun to write a Tool song, but Toby's not a fan of Tool, so I think I would have to find other members to do that with.
I'm looking up the Spotify streams right now.
Yeah, see how we're doing. See how we've changed from the last time we've done an episode together.
Yep. So the Team UK version has 28 streams of all time. US version has 118.
Oh wow, that is handily winning. What's our number one right now? Is it still Twilight?
I thought it was Triangles still.
Or is it Triangles?
Should have been, yeah. I mean,
okay.
If it becomes Twilight, then Symphony needs to go to bed sooner.
Yeah, I think that was the joke. Is it Twilight of the Thunder God? I think the majority of listens is just Toby's daughter. She loves that song. To be fair, though, she loves what was? I think it was Vospanish, actually.
Nope. Triangles is winning by almost 100 streams.
Oh,
it's
nice.
347 for Triangles and 249 for Twilight.
Nice. Oh, no, it's the Duality cover. She loved the Duality cover because that's the one where Toby wrecks her little, like, toy house. He rebuilt it. Don't worry. He rebuilt it. But,
and if you want to see the video, it'll be links down below.
Yeah, I think the video had not actually come out yet when we did the last podcast episode. So go out. I think it's on the A to Z channel. I think we have it on our channel too. But yeah, we did a video for our cover of Slipknot's Duality to celebrate the kegs that we put out with True North Audio. And by the way, the drum instrument we're making for the album, the one that we're actually trying to raise money for, is also going to have a keg on it because kegs are coming back. I know Slipknot's done it, but kegs are awesome. They're a great percussion piece, and I'm not going to settle for only one band bringing the heavy with the keg. Every metal band should have a keg player. Like, come on.
Yeah, because I ended up using a lot of your kegs in the Brock Inspector for the impacts.
Yeah, those sound awesome. I can't wait for people to hear those too.
They might also be in Dark Forest. Let me double check real quick.
Maybe. I feel like I remember you having at least a couple in there. I've got some in the beginning of Cal from Bell as well. There's some kegs in there, some of the like tapping and stuff rather than like the really heavy hitting. I figure we're going to layer some kegs in with some cowbell on that. We're also going to have a cowbell on the kit. Don't worry. You can't have a kit without the cowbell. That's coming.
And if full disclosure, if my audio cuts out, then it's because I'm opening up the DAW. So if you want to keep talking, I'll let you know if I find it.
That'll totally happen. No, I don't know if I've talked enough about the instrument that we're making, but we're going to have Sam actually record the full kit. We're doing left and right hand articulation. We're going to be doing a lot of really cool, like, extra features. Like I said earlier, we're going to have raw and processed samples. So we're going to have Rubin's chain baked into a set of those samples. So you guys are going to have a lot to work with. We're going to be, it looks like we're hoping to have it built by the guy who did Crim for Bogren Digital. So we're going to have a really better than me programmer for Contact to actually put it together. If we can really raise enough money, we'd actually like to make it NKS compatible. That will require some serious backing, though. You guys really got to get on that if you want that, so it would work in the free version of Contact, because that is really expensive to do. Like, I can't emphasize how expensive it is to make an instrument that works in the free version of Contact. If you want to work in the free version, you really got to back us up on that, because we cannot afford to do that out of our own pockets. Full stop. Straight up.
Real quick, you didn't hear any of that bleed into my mic, did you?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, we're putting together a really, really comprehensive instrument. We got some really cool ideas of how it's going to like actually come together. You guys are not ready for how great these drums are going to be. And like I said, we're adding extra percussion pieces like the cowbell, like the keg. We may do the full-size keg, but we may also just do like a smaller, like the 1.5 gallon kegs. So that might be a good kind of kit piece. So really it's going to depend on which one we do is going to depend on who's recording it. If we're doing the big keg, we're going to treat it like a percussion piece. So we're going to have it basically like sticks. It's not going to be the bat. It's not going to be the chain, any of that stuff. If you want that, buy my keg. But we're going to have that as an extra element on the kit as well. So if you want one that's just got some like good, like drumstick tapping or something, get both, honestly. Just get all the stuff. Buy tongues while you're at it too. Get the tongue drum. But you got it all set up there, Luke?
Yep, I didn't see any keg in it, but I know in the Brock Inspector it plays a big role for the impacts, because it. Actually, let me open that one real quick, because I know I have it blending with, I think it's an Anvil impacts or something like
Anvils
that.
Are sick, yeah.
And especially because like leading into it, I have it reversed, then I cut off the transient, so it's a nice little effects.
We did the kegs because we did the Slipknot, collab smash, and it was just like, where are all the keg samples? I found like one, but the download didn't work anymore or whatever. And it was just like, where are these? So I made my own set, but it's not just for that one use. I had so much fun making those kegs, and I genuinely think they are some of the coolest impacts. Like, I'm not just using them because I put a lot of time into making them. I'm using them because like I genuinely think that's one of the coolest percussion elements any metal band can have. And in hindsight, I am annoyed that there's not more metal bands using those. I think Slaughter to Prevail has used them. I think they have some keg songs, but yeah, I'm trying to think if anyone else has like prominent features of kegs. Also, the 55-gallon drum. Man, that thing just punches.
Yeah, for the Brock Inspector, I can hear the chain rattle after the impact.
Yeah, that real raw energy.
I'm trying to think. I processed the keg a little bit. I had a little bit of EQ, some dynamics, some not, and then I put Submarine on it also.
Yeah,
gotta give it a little bit of low ends.
It sucks because there was supposed to be. We had a contact mic. We called it Jeff. It's the geophone. But it's this like contact mic you can attach to metal surfaces or with a suction cup to like walls or whatever. And it picks up nothing but the low frequencies. It's basically like kind of another version of like the Solomon Subfreak or whatever, but just like for anything. And we had it on a garage door, but unfortunately the levels of some of the louder instruments clipped it horribly, and we just weren't able to salvage that mic. But otherwise, the kegs and the 55-gallon drum were supposed to have like a low frequency impact mic that was going to be layered in with all the others. That's something we're going to come back to when we redo it someday.
And that's exactly what I used Submarine for.
Yeah.
Because I put like the sub -1, I boosted it like 12 decibels. So you hear more of the body of the keg as opposed to just like the impacts.
The clang. Yeah, I mean, it's like the transient, that sharp high frequency transient is so loud. It overpowers every mic in the room. So it's like trying to get something low frequency really is a challenge, But that is, I mean, I intend to revisit the keg one of these days. I want to do... It's not going to be a keg next time I do it. I mean, it is. There's going to be a keg. But the next time I do it, it's going to be a full range of that like found sound metal percussion type stuff. It's going to be kegs, drums, dumpsters, like just anything I can get. And we're going to go way deeper in the sampling. We're going to bring back some of the mics we wanted to try to get in before. We're going to add additional things to hit it with. The original vision also was to have like a key for the left and right hand for anything that has left and right hand. So I'm going to do that next time. We ran out of time. It was a little bit, I'm doing a video. I think the video will be out before the podcast talking about like planning a sample instrument, but I want to have like a $50 or $100 like super, super deep mega percussion pack that will revisit the kegs among other things. And yeah, I want to bring in that extra, like the sub frequency and everything. It's great for reverb.
Yeah, great for reverb. I mean, we can always add the low energy back because it is there.
Yeah, exactly. Like the other mics have it. It's not missing. I intentionally left a lot of low energy in at least a couple of those mics just to make sure you could do exactly what you're doing, especially because I was missing the like super low frequency one. But yeah, no, it's that goes very much into the topic of like planning these kinds of instruments and stuff, because things are going to change, unexpected things are going to happen, and your vision will end up usually being reduced by factors such as time or equipment.
Well, the good news is if they don't have the kegs themselves, or if people listening aren't mixers, they'll be able to hear it in the Brock Inspector for sure.
Yep. And there is a free version. You can get the light keg. You can just grab that and, play with it. It works on Decent Sampler, which is also free. So, and I mean, I have the folders pretty open, so you can just grab one shots as well if you want to. I kind of intentionally do that with a lot of the percussion so that you can kind of play with it how you like to play with it. Since not everyone has Contact or wants to use Contact, you can also just go into the folder and grab one shots of the kit pieces and stuff. So if you want to play around with the keg, the smaller version of the keg is the free version, and it's just a couple round robin groups and stuff. And I mean, you'll get more than enough out of that as well. There's more articulations in that than there are in most free any kind of percussion kit or sample set. So, you don't even have to pay for it. But I would appreciate if you did. Like this is what keeps my bills paid. Like please buy my keg. And please back us on Kickstarter, because that, if we can make that like a whole thing, that would be awesome. Like I'm not even going to be taking money from that. I just want to get everybody over from overseas and have a really awesome big show.
So we'll just go ahead, remind the Kickstarter, say that, it's not for our financial benefit. It's strictly just for the album. Like we're not getting paid off it.
Yeah. No, we're taking that, like I said, we're taking that money and we're putting it forward into merchandise and products that we want to sell to get that ball rolling, to bring people over, to make music videos, to fund like the lighting situation for our shows and stuff so we can have more of that gear. Like we're putting all this back into the experience of Bloody Pineapples, and we're all willing to do that because one, trying to pay royalties to 20 people, even at a top level, is not going to be financially sustainable for anyone. But two, we like, we're in it because we love the process. You know, for us, it's one of those, we don't expect to make a bunch of money off the shows, but if we can finance the show such that it pays for itself and we just get a free vacation and a show out of it, that is more than good enough. Even if we have to put money out of our own pocket, if it just reduces the money out of our own pocket, you know, even that's good enough for us. We just want to keep that experience rolling. We want to put together cool shows. We want to be able to, one of these days, we want to be able to write an album together in person. You know, we want to get everybody together for like 10 days in Eugene or in London or wherever, you know, get into a studio and just like write in person, just bounce ideas off each other in the room, you know. So that's what we're trying to raise money for, is that sort of, you know, that sort of process, that sort of way of doing things for our records and our shows. You know, that's where the money's going. So please back us up. We really want to be able to just make this bigger and give you guys more to experience, and maybe even be able to put a small tour together, you know, be able, like, if we can bankroll enough to start that, to like kickstart that, then we can put like a little West Coast or something, a regional, or even something bigger if we can afford it, and actually come out and play for people.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the main point of it all, because like, it's not really for our benefit necessarily. It's so we can help create the instruments for the people out there who help mix, to get equipment for shows that you guys can come see us live, make it worth your while. And then so we can even put together a much better sounding album than the EP. I mean, with Ruben's skill, all we would need is just anything in addition. So that way you guys have a better music listening experience, better show experience, and then we can even meet you guys in person.
Yeah, which is, I mean, even meet ourselves, even meet each other in person, you know? Yeah, we definitely want this to be, like, we want you guys to share in this experience. It's going back again, like Jake said, it's a lifestyle. Like, we're not, you know, we're not just a band trying to make a living as a band. You know, all of us have other projects we're doing that with, not bands. Like, I have sample making, Ruben has his studio, Toby has, you know, his other bands and his like production stuff and everything. But we, like, what we do is for the experience. What we do is for that lifestyle. What we do is for the fans. What we do is for the 20 people involved who just have fun making this stuff. We're just trying to, you know, for us, living the dream isn't getting rich. Living the dream even just means being able to put on a show for you guys, you know, and make it cool. I mean, let's be real. If we were at the top of the game, there's so many guys in here that we'd each be making like $25,000 a year as like major international act. So none of us are even convinced we're going to be like getting rich off this for sure. It's all about the passion for us.
Yeah, because I mean, making money was never the goal. Like, we all have day jobs for that, and that's what you know, pays our bills, stuff like that. This is just an escape from everything, and to live the dream that we all imagined in middle school.
Exactly.
Just be rock stars.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Luke. I would thank Jake and Toby as well. They're no longer here. They're off, well, doing their work. But still, I'm happy to have had all of you here. Thank you for the 2 hours and 40-something minutes we've been going now. I look forward to actually getting to the recording process and everything. And like I said, again, back us on the Kickstarter. And if it's over, buy the products, buy the merch, listen to the music, tell your friends to listen to the music, whatever. You know, just keep sharing us around. With that, I think we're ready to sign off. Peace.
Yeah, appreciate you having me again.
100%, man. Always happy to have you. And we'll definitely be bringing you back again and again. Just like I said, just like with Toby, I think we got enough stuff going on to have you as an almost co-host.
Cool. I'll take a promotion.
It doesn't come with any pay. I'm not even getting paid for this. But you can come in and volunteer.
It's the passion. That's
exactly.
The theme here.
Exactly. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We will see you in the next one.